Yeah.
Good evening. Welcome to the July 14th, 2026 council meeting for the Village of Holly. Clerk, please call the roll.
Well, our clerk didn't get a haircut, but she's going to need to be asked to be excused. And I'll do the best I can on short notice. Weinbrenner,
Here.
Wendell,
Here.
Ryan,
Here.
Koskela,
Here.
Cole,
Here.
Kyer,
Here.
Brandon.
Here, we have a quorum. I will entertain a motion to excuse the clerk.
I'll make the motion to excuse the clerk.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Wendell. We have a second by Weinbrenner. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carried. If you are willing and able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This brings us to the approval of our consent agenda. All items listed under consent agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the Village Council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed separately in new business. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Weinbrenner. We have a second by Kyer. Will somebody please call the roll?
I will do that.
Thank you, Tim.
Wendell,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Koskela,
Yes.
Weinbrenner,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Kyer,
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes, motion carried. At this time, I will open up discussion on the consent agenda. Tim, I believe you also needed to add an item to new business.
That is correct. And you also notice that we are doing our consent agenda a little differently than we have in the past, where we're actually now separating out all of our reappointments and appointments to be it's a whole different category for us to easily identify those as well. But I would like to add an emergency work order to the agenda under new business, which will now be item G. However, due to the closed session we'll hear after item E, this agenda item should read Village Council consideration of approval of the emergency work order with Peerless Midwest for water distribution system pump repairs in an amount not to exceed $14,833.44. I have a council action request in front of all of you, as well as the invoice, and when we get to that item, Danny will be prepared to talk more about it.
Okay, so this would go after E, you said?
Yes,
Okay.
but it will be new business item G.
Okay, so G to go before E.
G to go after E, but before F.
Go after E before F, okay. Do we need a motion to accept that amendment?
Yes, it should be to approve the consent agenda as amended.
I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended. Unless you don't want to attend to these emergency services.
I will make the motion to amend the consent agenda.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Kyer, second by Weinbrenner. Call the roll, please.
Ryan,
Yes.
Koskela,
Yes.
Weinbrenner,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Kyer,
Yes.
Wendell,
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes, motion carried. This brings us to reappointments and appointments to boards and commissions. Similar to consent agenda, all reappointments and appointments will be approved by one motion. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and discussed separately in new business. I would like to take item J and place it after our new G.
I think we should have a motion beforehand to approve, and then we can discuss that during it,
Okay,
as we do with consent as well. Correct me if I'm wrong.
well,
Yeah.
yes, but the motion with that amendment, correct?
I think you should have a motion as it is, and then during discussion, we would change it and then amend it.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve. What portion of the agenda are we going to call this? The reappointments?
The reappointments and new appointments.
The reappointments and new appointments portion of the agenda.
So I'll make the motion to approve the reappointments and the appointments of the agenda.
Motion by Cole,
Second.
second by Kyer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion carried. I would like to pull item J and move it to after G before F. I will entertain a motion to approve this amendment.
I have another amendment I'd like to make.
What do you have?
To move all the new appointments to new business to give the public a chance to talk on them. Just because it's a new procedure we're starting that goes against our current rules of procedures.
So we would go, I will entertain a motion to move items J, A, and B to after G. So it would go G, J, A, B. Is there a motion to accept this amendment?
I'll make the motion to accept this amendment.
Motion by Ryan,
I'll second the motion.
second by Wendell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carried. Okay, so for the remaining appointments and new appointments, do I hear a motion to approve those? Well, no, it's not the new appointments now because we moved those.
Just all the reappointments.
Yep. So out of the remaining reappointments, do I hear a motion to approve? And that would be Gary Okonski, Jarrett Hopper, Sherilyn Everly, Kirk Cross, Nancy Rebar, Larry McGaw, Joe Hutchins, Timothy Turpinning, Mike McKinney, Reza Hamilton, Gail Peltonen, Sarah McKinney, Kara Cuxey, Holly Herrick, and John Wingelmeyer.
I'll make the motion to approve all reappointments that have not been amendment on item 6 for reappointments to the boards and commissions.
Motion by Ryan,
I'll second it.
second by Weinbrenner. Any discussion?
Is it safe to assume that all these dates are what would have been the corresponding dates if they didn't have to redo the oath?
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
Council, anything else? Any public comment on the reappointments? Seeing none. Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carried. I would also like to amend item J of reappointments, item 7B of new appointments to be from Seth Sands to Logan Leclerc. And the reason why there is Seth Sands rescinded his interest. Logan Leclerc owns Willards. So for that item, which is now at the end, from Seth Sands to Logan Leclerc, I will entertain a motion to accept that amendment.
I will make the motion to amend 7B from Seth Sands to Logan McClare.
Motion by Kyer,
I'll second it.
second by Weinbrenner. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carried. This brings us to tonight's first presentation. Our presentation is a recognition of our Honor Guard from American Legion Post 149 and the Veterans of Foreign War Post 5587. So first, I'll say a little something, and if a representative from the Legion and a representative from the VFW would want to come to the podium, please do so. No pressure. The Honor Guard was established in 1948 and is operated by the Veteran of Foreign Wars, VFW Post 5587, and the American Legion Post 149 here in Holly. Established in 2005, Holly's own Great Lakes National Cemetery serves as a place of honor, remembrance, and gratitude for the men and women who served our nation and the families who stand beside them. The Honor Guard serves at places such as Great Lakes National Cemetery, where they provide military funeral honors, including rifle volleys for soldiers both known and unknown. They also participate in flag retirement. They present colors at different functions. They raise new flags, participate in parades, at school functions, memorial ceremonies, and anywhere a tribute to our fallen take place. Although membership was once limited to veterans, the Honor Guard is now open to members of the public who wish to serve in these important roles, honoring our military. On behalf of a grateful community, I would like to extend our deepest thanks to the Honor Guard for your service. What you do matters. Through every salute, every folded flag, and every moment of precision and respect, you ensure that those who served our nation are remembered with dignity and honor. You stand watch not only for the veterans whose families gathered here today, but also for those whose names have faded from memory and whose loved ones are no longer able to visit. Because of your service, none of them are forgotten, including the nameless soldiers who have been returned home after making the ultimate sacrifice. In some of life's most difficult moments, your presence provides comfort to grieving families and serves as a visible reminder that our nation remembers the sacrifices made in its defense. Your commitment requires sacrifice, discipline, and countless hours of volunteer service. Yet you continue to answer the call, ensuring that every veteran receives the honor they have earned, rain or shine. Thank you for preserving these traditions, for honoring our fallen heroes, and for standing as guardians of their memory. Through your service, the stories of those who came before us continue to be told, and their sacrifices continue to be recognized. Please join me in thanking the Honor Guard for their dedication, professionalism, and unwavering service. I would now like to recognize the members of Holly's Honor Guard. Some are veterans who continue serving their country long after their time in uniform has ended. Others are community members who have chosen to give back by ensuring our fallen service members receive the honor and respect they deserve. Together, they represent the very best of service, sacrifice, and commitment to others. Those members are Joel Blatchford, Bob Brummeler, Warren Bud Mendez, Don Wengelmeyer, Jack Montgomery, Leo Boncher, Frank Fallon, Frank Allen, Ed Adams, Fred Swartz, Palmer Downing, Mel Carl, Charlie Swiggles, Frank Owen, Dwayne Haylett, George Hewlett, Noel Eastridge, Jim Waller, Bill Miller, Les Adair, Les Klingler, Ken Weedbrock, Maurice Pearson, Bruce Dreyer, Jeffrey Zelish, Brian Glock, Mark Milkowski, Juan Villarreal, Josh Pearson, Eric Toth, Ronald Applegate, Lloyd Bigham III, Mike Patterson, Art Ingram, Erie Walden, Rory Fuller, Rod Fuller, Steve Sturgow, Eddie Poole, Carrie Lovejoy, Breeden Lovejoy, that's our young one, that's our young bugler, Len DeYoung, Carl Clark, Ina Golden, Jim Golden. And finally, they asked I give a special shout out to Risa Hamilton for sewing so many patches on their uniforms for them. The list has been compiled to the best of our current members' recollection. If we have unintentionally omitted anyone, please know that your service is equally valued and honored, and we sincerely apologize for the oversight. As Michael Patterson said, to the best of my memory, what memory? Some of these folks have passed away. Let's take just a moment in silent reflection as we honor them all. Okay, now the pressure's on, and I would like one representative from American Legion and 1 representative from VFW. First, I will read aloud. The Distinguished Service Award. The Village of Holly proudly recognizes the Joint Honor Guard VFW Post 5587 for your outstanding service in honoring our nation's veterans, preserving military traditions, and ensuring that the sacrifices of those who served are remembered with dignity and respect. Presented with gratitude on behalf of the Holly community. With sincere appreciation. Will that representative for the VFW please step forward? The Distinguished Service Award. The Village of Holly proudly recognizes the Joint Holly Honor Guard American Legion Post 149 for your outstanding service in honoring our nation's veterans, preserving military traditions, and ensuring that the sacrifices of those who served are remembered with dignity and respect, presented with gratitude on behalf of the Holly community. If any of you would like to say anything, take a
Tim.
microphone.
We don't have one.
Oh, can we have a microphone? We've got a mic right here for you.
Oh, I know. We would like to thank the Village of Holly for this recognition. Some of us have been on the Honor Guard longer than others, but from the very beginning, we have one purpose, and that is to honor the veterans that have gone before us and make sure that when a veteran dies, he gets the proper send-off. So we're there to play taps, fire the salute, and send him off. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from Honor Guard or American Legion? Okay.
Oh, she's gonna.
Good evening. Thank you so very, very much for the award, and I particularly appreciate you recognizing those of us who are not veterans. I think there are a lot of people who don't know that as a community member, this is a place where you can stand in. I am a proud granddaughter, daughter, and niece of service members, and it's amazing to be in a community that welcomes civilians into this position. So thank you for recognizing that. Thank you for all of your support. And special thanks to Ray Fenning for pulling me in. So thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
If there's anyone else. All right, we're going to take a 10-minute break. Council will reconvene in 10 minutes. You can do photos, say your hellos. You give the Honor Guard your thanks if you like. Council will be reconvening. This brings us to public comment. Members of the audience may address council on any item that is not on the agenda. Those addressing council will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time. After each agenda item, there will be an additional 2-minute public comment period to speak to that item before council votes. Council will hear all comments for future consideration, but will not have a response at this time. Prior to addressing council, members of the public shall state their name and address for the record. Any public comment? Yes, please. If you don't mind, please state your name and address for the record.
Well, I don't think I need this. I have a big voice. My name is Miriam Moore, and I've lived at 105 Clarence Street on Lake Simonson since 1985. I would like the council, as they're looking forward to what might happen next, to just think about the ecosystem of Lake Simonson. The last time the village owned property, they sold it to people that turned it into storage bins. Those owners, those new owners, this is my view of the lake when I look at the sunset, they bulldozed every cattail, every tree, every bush, everything that you're not supposed to do in a wetland, and they put up a fence. And what I see now are broken down trucks and SUVs that are stored and all kinds of weird stuff that's over there. And then the village wanted to raise my taxes. And what I came back with is you actually devalued my property by having that be the view on Lake Simonson. The other piece of Lake Simonson is it does not have a designation as a no-wake lake. It's very small. It should have that designation. I'm not sure all my neighbors, I'm pretty sure not all the neighbors, maybe the majority, but not all of them would maybe want that. But please think about that. It's a treasure in our city, in our village, I should say. In that it's not like the other two lakes, it's different. And I'm hoping the character of that lake can stay no matter what happens with property on the north end on Elm Street. The DNR, and maybe it's DEQ, and I can't keep track of all those, they keep changing. Actually, if you wanted to put a dock on that lake, they require a permit. Several of my neighbors have no clue and have done all kinds of strange things on that lake and pulled things in. And for example, the year that some renters had jet skis, they brought in zebra mussels. And those are now part of our ecosystem that were not there in 1985. So as you're thinking about what to do, I mean, I myself, I'm 73 years old. I love this lake. I would love to have maybe a senior living condominiums on the north end or, you know, something wonderful. But I hope that we're mindful of the treasure that we have and of what is legal to do there and what is not legal, and, you know, how we would go forward in a wise direction. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you. And great timing. Any further public comment? Yes.
Anna Matson, 15091 Western Valley. At the last council meeting, Councilwoman Shannon Cole made a comment about Councilman Daniel Wendell that luckily for her was hard to hear in the recording, but that luck runs out now because I was here and heard the whole thing. She suggested that Wendell did not know what he was doing when he called a special meeting back in December, and she took issue with that. Let me explain the significance of this comment with some background. On December 9th, 2025, this council entered a closed session without following the requirements of the Michigan Open Meetings Act. The motion was not properly made, and the village president even asked if a motion was needed at all. It was. Michigan law and court precedent are very clear about how to go in closed session, and the village violated both. The reason those requirements matter is because closed sessions are one of the few times government is allowed to hide from the public. When the proper procedure is not followed, it not only breaks public trust, but the village also breaks the law, making this council a liability. Wendell was not even present when the December 9th closed session occurred. My understanding is that Councilman Ryan later approached Councilman Wendell and asked him to join in calling a special meeting so the council could revisit the matter and attempt to correct the council's unlawful actions. The special meeting was held, and instead of taking the opportunity to correct those actions and take accountability, the rest of council distracted from the topic at hand and tried to accuse Wendell and Ryan of wrongdoing. Through a FOIA request, I even obtained audio of the village manager, Tim Price, threatening Wendell with perjuring himself as if he has any legal authority to make that determination. Instead of criticizing Councilman Wendell for calling that special meeting to correct a mistake he didn't make, rather Ms. Cole made, and the rest of the council at the time, a more appropriate response would have been to thank both Wendell and Ryan for taking the issue seriously and for attempting to correct the council's mistake. Instead of doing that, you went on to participate in 2 more illegal closed sessions where there were not proper made motions and decisions were not made public. So I will do what you and the rest of council failed to do. Thank you, Councilman Ryan. Thank you, Councilman Wendell, for trying to correct the unlawful actions this council made on December 9th. Unfortunately, the rest of our representatives do not have the capacity to take the same accountability and to course correct like you two do.
Any further public comment? Jan?
Good evening, council and staff. I'm Jan Van Zelfte, 15226 Weller Court. I really don't think I have anything that's super newsworthy to say, so I really hope I don't see myself on TV this week. I don't have time or energy for paparazzi. Yay, the camera is not even on me. I'd first like to say thank you for the lovely Independence Day celebration. I saw many of you out serving our community, and it was a great event. I really appreciated the live music that was added this year. Now on to business. I also want to comment about municipal analytics. The council approved municipal analytics on November 12th of 2025. I believe municipal analytics said that they would have their project complete by March of 2026. Don't quote me on that. I went through all of the minutes and I could not find exactly what date they said. But I did ask for them to come give a presentation, and they did do that in April. I'm not sure of the date. I think it was like the 25th or something. It's unclear to me if they've completed their contractual agreement. I haven't seen any like actual document that they've produced. Just a couple of the PowerPoint presentations that they did for us. I am disappointed that the village did not have a full report for municipal analytics before the 2026-2027 budget was passed. Or maybe you did and you just didn't share it with residents for some reason. I did hear a remark from one of the council members that we may not like what the report has to say. I understand that it's just a model to help guide us into the future of how to handle our finances, but I would like something in writing, something that I can actually hold in my hands, a final report for municipal analytics. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Jarrett, did I see your hand up?
That's where we're going. Jarrett Hopper, 309 Cogshell Street. Just a couple topics. First, just wanted to say thanks to everybody here and everybody in the room for the service that you provide. We know this is a difficult job. Everybody disagrees, agrees, but at the end of the day, everybody cares. And thank you for caring and going above and beyond to do that. Second, just on the 400 Elm Street property, I mean, based on what it looks like here, I mean, with the credits, $70,000 seems like a really good price for property. I guess my biggest concern with that would be is there a major cleanup, being it's an industrial workspace? The old Joseph Pontiac building stayed vacant for years from before and after we moved out west and came back. So just making sure that that 70,000 is actually 70,000 and not something more. Third is just a request from Chief Narsh and the police, because I'm Cogshell Street's biggest speeding advocate, is the people are really running the stop signs on Cogshell. It seems like they're fully ignoring everything that's going on over there. I promise I wasn't the stop sign camera guy for everybody that thought that I was. But anything you guys can do, there's a lot of young families there. There's a lot of pets, and no one is abiding by those rules for speeding on Cogshell. So anything you guys can do to help would be very appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Jarrett. Any further public comment? Ellie?
Good afternoon. I do want to thank you for getting me out of work early today to be here. Just a couple of quick things. I just learned of the Elm Street development probably last night. And I would just say this, not everything that looks free is free or is a good gift, even for that matter. My concern is that it's a risky investment. It's a complex development. There's liability to the community financially. There's also lawsuit potentials. When you're developing a brownfield, that's a complex project. And I think about the Pulte development, which is a 101 stamp development. And look where we sit all these years later with the Pulte development and the residuals from the most basic development that's done across the country with one of the biggest builders. We are not those people, and we have failed in the past. We are not qualified. I believe this is the same attorney that got us into that contract.
Direct your comments to the president, please.
I believe we retain the same counsel that drafted and approved the agreement we made with Pulte that we still pay for today. Lastly, I want to talk about the water bond. This is the third meeting in a row, second meeting, I'm requesting something in writing from this council or from the clerk about where we stand with these bonds. I read on Facebook today, 2 of them were paid off in 2025, one's paid off this year. That's not coming from the government, that's coming from a citizen who's done some research with FOIA. Why aren't you sharing with us where we stand? My water bill this month, $82.39. Okay, who's got that low of a water bill in Holly? I got yelled at for using the water the other day. So, but out of the $82.39, $37 was for our water and sewage debt, and $35 was for water. I want my money. That's $444 a year. I might be a little more supportive on mill increases that cost me $700 a year if I could get my $444 back. Some of these bonds have been paid off. It's really becoming a really bad look for you folks. And I know you're wonderful people up here. Let's give the information we've been asking for. And this will be the last time I ask, because it's no longer an ask. It's a requirement to do your
Thank you, Ellie.
job.
Is there any further public comment? Angela?
Angela Wallace, 709 Baird Street. I just was not able to make it to last month's meeting because I had a pre-existing commitment, but I wanted to let the community know that on June 3rd, the Fraternal Order of Eagles, their ladies auxiliary, that's the name, they gave a significant donation to the Holly Police Department Food Sharing Pantry. This donation is allowing us to serve the people in our community who we have a lot of, and you don't know how much of a need we have right now for food insecurity and how many people we have coming through daily at all hours, 24 hours a day we're open, and food is leaving the pantry every day and it's being taken because we have so many people in our community that are insecure. So I just wanted to let you know that that did happen, and I wanted to thank the Fraternal Order of Eagles, Ladies Auxiliary in public, and I'm sorry that I could not do that last month. Also, I agree with Jarrett on the Cog Shell, and it is a drag strip from the trailer park in Rose Township all the way down Cog Shell. People are not stopping at all. They're not even slowing down at the stop signs coming down Cog Shell. They just blow through them and hope that nobody is coming at them. And I'm hoping that there's no children riding their bikes across the street, because this is a everyday issue. I wanted to thank the village manager and our police chief for making sure that the no parking signs did get put up on the one side of Baird, so that we will not have the issues with the venue parking that we have had in the past. So I just want to thank you for that update. And I also just wanted to take a moment to let you all know that I pray daily for your safety, especially this week, after all the things that have come out, and for all of our staff, for our council, for our commissioners, for our board members. We all, I'm hoping most of us, want you to be safe, secure. You should feel very safe in your own homes and not feel threatened, despite members of our community who are continually and daily stirring the pot and that are bringing harassment and making it so that our elected officials, our appointed officials, are not feeling okay and safe in their own homes. So I do pray for you, and if I can do anything to help you, please let me know.
Thank you, Angela.
Yep.
Any further public comment? Yes.
Good evening, Reagan Rockwell, 836 Holly Bush Drive, Holly, Michigan. Thank you, Councilman Wendell, for being here. So glad to see you again. Thank you, Councilman Ryan, for continuing to represent your constituents and for your transparency. Thank you, everyone else, for your time. I ask and I plead that you would actually represent your constituents. I feel like there is a lot of being out of touch with the actual community. Having worked in this community for 7 years, I found that a lot of people worked here, or a lot of people chose to live here because of the affordability. Moving forward in cityhood, I have concerns that, and actually we'll get to see next month what that is actually going to bring, but I have a feeling it's not going to be cheap. The special assessment has not been cheap either. When I thank Councilman Ryan and Councilman Wendell for their transparency, it's just such a far cry from what we've seen put out by our village president on Facebook. It's false propaganda about how financially strong the village of Holly is. One of the most important factors in building a strong community is being able to trust those who dictate the municipality's financial future. And we're not seeing that. We're having a very hard time trusting things when we're seeing lies put out on Facebook. If we were financially strong, there wouldn't be a need to renew a special assessment at a rate of 4%. There could have been like a good faith gesture, maybe of reducing it to 3.5% or less. We shouldn't see dirty streets along with disrepair in our roads and fire hydrants that don't work. Those things should have been fixed over the last year. You guys have had an entire year with a 4% increase in the special assessment. I can't help but think about those on a fixed income in this community, those who are struggling. And I feel like there's just been such a blatant disregard. You say that you care, but I don't see it. Our businesses are struggling. We've had businesses leave. The dirty roads don't leave a
good first impression of Holly if somebody's been here for the first time. I took a couple of pictures and put them on Facebook today because we want transparency. This isn't about anybody attacking anyone. It's not about harassment.
Please don't address me. You address the president.
Is it your
Order,
time? You had
order,
your time.
order.
So it's really about what's fair and what's transparent. It's not about a witch hunt just because somebody is bringing attention to accountability and transparency. And even Ms. Cole, I saw your behavior towards Mr. Wendell
That's
too, and
time.
it wasn't
Thank you,
quite
Reagan.
nice.
Any further public comment? Hearing none, seeing none. This moves us to old business. Consideration by council of maintaining Simon Figuera Parker PLC as village legal representation. Do I have a first to consider item A of old business?
Make a motion to, what is it, table or delay so we can put it off till the next meeting? Postpone for one more meeting to hopefully form a committee to actually interview the people that are in the packet. I just don't know anything about it. We can read a few pages, but until we actually talk to them, I think some of them have experience taking villages to cities. That might be beneficial for our residents to have too.
We have a motion by Cascella to postpone.
I'll second the motion.
We have a second by Wendell to postpone. Council discussion.
Madam President?
Mhm.
So I think our current representation, based off the information that we received and the spreadsheet of what they're all working on, they do have a lot of irons in the fire. So I don't know if it would be the best interest just to say goodbye. But I also think it would be a bad idea if we do not at least talk to these other companies to see what they offer. We know what we get with our current representation. Some other municipalities, what they'll do is they'll have a 3-person committee. They can come up with questions. You can direct all the questions to the representation, and then the committee can report back.
Council?
I mean, I kind of like that idea because we have interviews for like our village manager, village clerk treasurer, and our other appointed officer is the attorney. So it only makes sense to also interview who we might want to be sitting up here with us during our meetings, or interview the company that might be up here. In this case, like even Gilner's not here every single time, sometimes it's someone else. So as long as it's like a representative from each of the groups that are being considered, if they're willing to.
Respectfully, I disagree. We're not interviewing for a vacant position. We're talking about firing our current attorney. I had all the information I needed in those packets. But pleasure of council. Anyone else? Opinions, discussions, questions?
Manager Price, did you interview any of the applicants or did you just solicit bids?
We just solicited bids. We reached out to several different firms across the state, or at least within the area, and we did not do individual interviews with them. No, it's not my appointee; it's the council's appointee.
If that's all, Tim, please call the roll.
And this is for the motion to postpone, correct?
For the motion to postpone, please call the roll.
Yes. Weinberger,
No.
Koskela,
Yes.
Kyer,
No.
Wendell,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Cole,
No.
Brandon.
No, motion denied. I will entertain a motion to consider item A of old business. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion to consider A of old business.
We have a motion by Cole.
Second.
We have a second by Kyer. So just to repeat for those gathered, this is for the consideration by council of maintaining Simon Figuera and Parker PLC as village legal representation. Tim, would you like to introduce this item?
Sure, this is already an item that we postponed previously. We had submitted an RFP. We had it out for about 6 months to get different bids. Tonight, you're being asked to consider an appointment of legal counsel following the village request for proposals process. We received proposals from 3 qualified firms, each offering different levels of municipal experience, staffing, and fee structures. After reviewing the submissions and considering the village's current future legal needs, I recommend that we retain counsel with Simon Figuera and Parker PLC as village attorney. The firm has represented the village for over 20 years, provides municipal legal services, and it has demonstrated a strong understanding of our operations and ongoing legal matters. Their proposal also offers a competitive hourly rate of $170 an hour. Maintaining this relationship will preserve institutional knowledge, continuity, and responsiveness while avoiding the disruption and added expense of transitioning to new counsel. For these reasons, I respectfully recommend that we maintain our current legal counsel. I'll also mention, as it is a council appointee, it is a supermajority vote to replace. So you need 5 votes to replace.
Thank you for that reminder. And could you say that one more time, please? The supermajority is
Yeah,
for?
it's within the charter, so any appointees, so the clerk, village manager, the attorney, you need at least 5 votes in order to remove them from their current position.
To remove them?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, any public comment on this item? Ms. Manson?
Anna Matson, 15091 Western Valley. I have watched this attorney give this council poor legal advice for years now, and it should be met with termination of his service, not an extension. In my limited time, let me give you a few examples. Number 1, in this very meeting, you are considering a FOIA appeal, past the statutory timeframe. The law is very specific that it needs to be responded to in 10 business days from the last regular meeting. It was received. We are past that. After 2 FOIA lawsuits, I would think the attorney would brush up on these basic requirements. Number 2, from my memory, I believe there have been 4 illegal committees. In just the past couple of years, he has allowed or even justified and sat here and allowed. When I first raised this issue, he said it was like picking a paint color for your wall. No, Mr. Gildner, whether or not you follow the law is nothing like picking a paint color. It's the difference between getting sued and not getting sued, which is essential when you're dealing with a financial crisis. Number 3, Mr. Gildner allowed you to go in several illegal closed sessions. He justified the excessive use of closed sessions by saying, quote, I could write you a privileged communication that today is Tuesday, and that would enable us to go in closed session, unquote. Then an attorney from his same office came here and said, quote, the whole point of it is, referring to the Open Meetings Act, is that they don't want councils or boards just to be able to go into session just for any written legal opinions, end quote. Those are just a few things, but I could sit here and list more. Let's face it, Mr. Gildner is a liability and does not serve the village of Holly any further. You can't blame past administrations for failures when you have consciously kept him here this entire time.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Hearing none? Seeing none? Council, any discussion?
I just want to say, like, I'm not against, I don't disagree with the fact that we probably should have had interviews, but it's the 10th hour at this point. We've been waiting 6 months to do this. I don't know that that is when we should be bringing up another procedural question.
It's actually been a year.
I also don't see, right now we are involved in lawsuits. I don't see changing legal counsel as an optimal time to do that when we are in the middle of some legal issues.
Contrary to public misconception, Gildner has not led us astray. I've yet to hear a judge say otherwise. Counsel?
So I think he has led us astray. Now, whether or not there's been damage to that, I don't know. For instance, the one that comes right off the top of my head is the DDA difference of opinion, where we all fought for it, and then I brought it up that, no, we received a different opinion, and then opinion was changed later. So that happened. Another issue, I think, is starting in January, we had, well, a year ago, but I know in January, we had a conference with Mr. Gildner, Mr. Price, and I did, regarding water and sewer bond, how stuff was set up. Still haven't received word back. That's January. And then at the, I think it was the March meeting, I said publicly, hey, we're waiting for Mr. Gildner to come back for us, trying to get us some more information on this. And that's the meeting that his associate was here. And after the meeting, the associate came up and said, hey, Mr. Gildner might not be here. What are you waiting for? So I told him what we were waiting for. And now we're way past that. And I think the responsiveness is part of the issue that we're seeing here. So we can only do so much. And we want to talk about other things that have happened. The difference of opinion with PA 33 we had. It was his opinion, one thing, and then I said, hey, why don't we have to do this? And why are other legal firms saying this? And that wasn't addressed at all. So I think there are things that have been brought up. There have been issues. And as far as us being in active litigation, is there some way we can work with that? Would his firm only represent us for the active litigation stuff? Don't know. All the files that they have are the property of the village. And I have to imagine that municipal attorneys are able to say, this is all the information. We might have two attorneys for a while. And they say, here's the information. This is where we're going with it. If they don't want to, if we didn't want to have two, or if our law firm didn't want to have two.
Thank you, Jen. Anyone else?
I have more of a procedural question because of, you said a supermajority, which you're right, says it right there in the charter. If the attorney doesn't have the oath to be with the village, would they still be considered an appointed official, or are they contracted through their company that we hired at that point? So would it still need a supermajority, or would it just be a majority for any other contract?
I think it would be, again, we have to look at it, but it should be, we are hiring the attorney. So Mike is just a representative, like all of the contract says, Simon Figueroa. It's not just for Attorney Gilbert. So it is our agreement with the attorney agency.
So could an agency be an appointed official?
It's whatever we
Or
agree
would it
to.
just be a contractor need 4 votes instead of 5 votes to switch, or?
I think I'd have to review the charter, which is, let's say you have it up right now, but I mean, I'm pretty sure it says that that includes that person who need to be financed or replaced.
Right, the person, not the company.
Yeah. And that's the same argument we had previously. That
Right, which is why they didn't need to take the oath.
take an oath, yeah.
So I'm just wondering for like.
I mean, it's whatever we agree.
Reasons for.
If we don't agree, then there you go.
But if it came down to say this vote,
So
it's the difference between 5 or 4 votes today, so that's all questioning.
Take a different interpretation.
Okay, well, if that comes to play, we will have to make sure to look at that.
I mean, me personally, I agree with some of the stuff Jim said, not to say all the different opinions. I did like one of the other companies because it seemed like they had an army of attorneys at our disposal that are all experts in different areas. So if we had questions about specific things, that person should be able to answer us probably relatively quickly, because they should hopefully be an expert in it. So that's where I'm kind of standing with it, is the Bloom Sluggett PC counselors and attorneys, just because it seems like for a very similar price, we can get like more bang for our buck with it. And I don't necessarily see it as a firing of someone. It's more switching contracting companies. For this case, it's just an attorney versus construction or whatever it might be, which we should be reviewing all of our contracts regularly anyways.
Thank you. Counsel? Okay. Please call the roll.
Costa,
No.
Kyer,
Yes.
Wendell,
No.
Ryan,
No.
Cole,
Yes.
Weinberger,
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes. Motion carried. Mike, I meant to offer you an opportunity to speak, and I know we already did the vote, but was there anything that you wanted to say?
Oh, I was happy to address any and all, but at this point in time, I.
No
see
need to drag out the
no
meeting?
need to. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. We all appreciate that. Item B of old business, consideration of the approval of awarding the audited services contract to Lauterbach and Amen for $49,500 for the fiscal year 2026. Do I have a first to consider item B of old business?
I'll make the motion to consider item B of old business, the consideration of approval of awarding the auditing services contract to Lauterbach and Amen for $49,500 for the fiscal year of 2026. Well, yeah.
I hope I didn't.
Second.
Thank you. We have a first by Ryan and a second by Kyer, and I hope I didn't botch that pronunciation. So we don't have Lisa here to introduce this item. Tim, do you know much ado about anything?
Yeah, about some things, not
All
much
right.
about this, but this is Lisa's area. She was the one that reviewed these and made the recommendation. However, I'll read her card and say a couple things.
Thank you.
At the June 24, 2025 Village Council meeting, the council requested the village solicit bids for auditing services. The village offices solicited bids for the services with the quotes due by March 31st, 2026. Only 2 firms submitted bids and are summarized as follows. Raymond Robson LLC, $54,000. Lauterbach, Amen, $49,500. Both firms were recommended by other municipalities within the state of Michigan via a listserv through the Michigan Municipal Treasurers Association, and all had good reviews. And so the recommendation is to sign a contract for auditing services with Lauterbach, Amen, for $49,500 for the fiscal year 2026. I will say that I would recommend not if we are confident with Lisa's recommendation, I'd recommend not tabling it because usually our audit should be starting in August. So I would hate to get to August, have to do the contract, be already late starting another audit.
Okay. Any public comment on this item? Is the news guy raising his hand? Hearing none, seeing none. Council discussion?
I agree with Tim. We should try to get this started because even if we hire them, we might not be able to get on their schedule for a few months. So we should move on it.
Thank you. Jim?
I think it's a good thing we got fired by our last company. We've now saving $50,000. So I think they probably figured out once we've started taking bids. So this was good.
Anyone else? Okie dokie. Please call the roll.
Kyer,
Yes.
Wendell,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Weinberger,
Yes.
Koskela,
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes, it's unanimous. Motion carried. Item C, consideration of resolution 2026-032 to submit a village road millage proposal to the electors of the Village of Holly. Do I have a first to consider item C of old business?
I'll make a motion to consideration of resolution 2026-032, submit a village road millage proposal to the electors of the Village of Holly.
I'll support that.
We have a motion by Weinbrenner. We have a second by Cole. Tim, would you like to introduce this item?
Sure, this is another item that was postponed from our last meeting. Council's being asked whether to place a dedicated road improvement millage on the November 3rd, 2026 ballot. The proposed ballot language would authorize up to 2 mills for 10 years if approved by the voters beginning in fiscal year 2028 and is estimated to generate approximately $335,150 in its first year. The revenue would be restricted to road construction, resurfacing, maintenance, drainage, engineering, and other related street infrastructure costs. While staff has prepared a resolution for council's consideration, I recommend that the council carefully evaluate the proposal before taking any final action. We need to ensure the legal authority, ballot language, DDA capture, financial impact, and permitted uses of the revenue have been fully reviewed. Since we did this last, the village attorney's office has gone through and there was a slight change language from the previous versions to this one, that they've updated some of those things, so that review has happened. Council should also consider whether the anticipated revenue is sufficient to support a meaningful road program, and whether the public clearly understands what this millage can and cannot accomplish. Because the ballot submission deadline is August 11th, council has limited time to complete that review and determine whether the proposal is ready to be placed before the voters. I personally, I have, although I think we need to do something, we need to start. I'm worried that we have a road millage that $335,000 a year is a drop in the bucket for our needs. And I fear that if we do a millage, they're going to expect all the roads to be replaced right away. But we have about $20 million of road repairs that need to happen, not to include the sewer and water infrastructure and all the things that need to happen. And so I want to be very clear with expectation management of this. Even if we did not spend a dime, and we just saved this for 10 years and spent it all the time, it still wouldn't, I mean, it would just barely touch our needs that we have right now. So we need to do something. We need to start. We'll talk a little bit more about this with municipal analytics next month at the meeting. However, we need to make a decision so we can get it on the November ballot.
I agree. Oh, sorry.
It's okay. We'll be back to us soon. First, any public comment on this item? Jane.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Jane Bice-DeSessa. I'm a resident of the Village of Holly. I live on East Holly Road. I concur with what the manager has just said exactly. It is not going to bring sufficient funds. I've done many roads myself. To do just a complete reconstruction of a small 1 mile road will cost over $1 million. With the cost of gas and things of that nature going up higher, this is not even a drop in the bucket, with all due respect. Again, respectfully, you did, and we, with the fire, or police millage, I should say, the 4 mills, people still remember that. And to add another millage, not that I want to apologize, but I don't know how the villagers would feel about adding another mill or so to do this. I'm sorry. Many people were here to talk about the police millage, and to add this right now for something that you won't be able to do anything. I concur with the city manager completely. It's a very small amount, and we need to find another way. But thank you for allowing me to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane. Any further public comment? Thought I saw a hand waving. Nobody? Okay. Hearing none, seeing none. Council.
I was just gonna say, I agree with Manager Price's analysis of this. If anything, yeah, I would wait to do this until after, but unfortunately, we're just under a strict deadline, but I would want municipal analytics report before we moved towards this, because as a finance committee, we met with municipal analytics, and as Manager Price has reiterated, we have massive infrastructure as well as roads that need to be done, and we have to figure out a way to make that all work together. There's no sense in putting down a new road over pipes that are 50 years old and are going to need to be dug up in 2 years.
So I'm going to piggyback off of Amber on that. I also agree. I have been looking at the traffic counts through SimCog if anybody else would also like to pull those up, you can see that they have data all the way from just July 12th, where we are averaging in a week span 7,000 to 6,000 vehicles just down Saginaw Street, which is one of our main thoroughfares. By all means, it is a huge part of our DDA. It is a huge part of just Holly on its own. And even that one chunk of road is about a mile long. We are going to be looking at far more than we're actually capturing. If we can look at the amount that we were proposing, it's the same as or roughly the same as the special assessment. So I'm not sure we're going to bring in very much in that first year or after that would even touch some of these roads.
As difficult as it is to address misconceptions, especially when they run wild, and they will, I think it is really important that we do address those and make certain that we're clear about what this village is and leave it up to the voters. If this had been done 40 years ago, we'd be sitting on some savings that could have taken care of a lot of this. I think it's irresponsible to not start saving as soon as possible. And even if the voters chose to do this, we wouldn't start saving for it until 2028. I know that we've got a little feedback from Municipal Analytics. Their presentation, by the way, will be in August, at the August meeting. And yeah, this isn't going to do but not even half a road at a time if we did it that way, or we save it until we have more. We look for matching grants, and I think if I remember right, Tim, you said that we'd be able for infrastructure to use some of the water enterprise funds.
Yeah, for the infrastructure underneath the streets that would need to be replaced.
Underneath the streets. So that piece could be handled while we're already under there with the water enterprise funds. So, but yeah, it still wouldn't be but each millage per year wouldn't be but maybe a third of a road apiece. But it's still something to start saving for something. I feel like we can't not save for any longer. And also leave it up to the voters. I say put it in their hands. If they don't want it, they don't want it. But I know that I think we all know how many flat tires did each of us get on the way here today, just coming down your own side street. I know I got 5. Just saying. Go. Yeah. Council, your thoughts?
First, I'd like to apologize, Mr. Price. I told him I'd have questions for him. I just got so busy, I never got a chance to send the email. So instead of asking all those questions, I'm going to summarize my thoughts on it. Like you guys are correct, we need to also use grants and all these other funding sources to pay for them over time. But we also should have a plan moving forward on how we're going to use the funds before we ask the voters for more money. And so if we have those plans in place and we can show a timeline like, hey, these are the streets we're working on in order before, and you guys may already have that, I don't know. I think having that presented first before we go to an election for and be like, hey, we're supporting them on this. I think we should have all of our ducks in a row first, saying, hey, this is how we're going to do it. This is our improvement plan for the roads. We're going to start with these streets and repair them first with this first group of money from this year. We're going to couple it with these grants or these water funds. But even then, our water funds are still finite. Like, we have how many pump stations that need to be replaced with it?
We have 13, but what, 4 remaining?
And how much are those and how much money do we have?
$800,000 to $1 million each, yeah.
So we're not really going to have much water funds either for that infrastructure. So I think before we send this through a vote that may or may not happen, we should have our plan made. And if it comes down to it, special elections are a drop in a bucket compared to that. We can have a special election for that if we need it sooner. I think we should just have the plan in place first before we ask for more money.
Tim, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit. So, John from Municipal Analytics, we've been plugging away at the capital improvement plan portion, which part of that is the roads. We've had a PACER rating that kind of has outlined our roads since 2018. We've seen that they've degraded. One of the missing pieces to that was that matching it to the water infrastructure that we have, because again, we don't want to replace road and then 6 months later have to tear it up to replace a pipe. And so we previously had a SAW grant to get some of the conditions of the infrastructure underneath. This was older, but that information wasn't put it into GIS. And so Danny and I are now having to process of going segment, not road by road, segment of road by segment road, pairing up the conditions information, and then racking and stacking all of these things. And so that's what he and I are working on right now, exactly what you're talking about, so that if someone looks, they can say, where does my road sit? Like if I'm looking at Sherman, you know, where does Sherman sit on, or this segment of Sherman sit on the priorities? And that's part of where we're adding the capital improvement plan we're working on is more robust than a lot of others, where it actually would say, ideally, like this section would be like allocated for, you know, 2029. That we do it. 2037 would be the replacement or whatever, you know, that's the aspiration of, you know, what we're working on. The problem is getting the matching funding for it. But I agree that it's hard because yes, we need to start saving. We have a local road improvement grant that we were approved for that we've been looking at doing smaller segments, and we need matching funds for those things. But the expectation management thing is really what scares me in this, because again, if they approve a road millage, because the financial impact that can have on them, they're going to expect quantifiable changes in the roads, and I just don't realistically seeing that happen to the extent that it would feel justified to them. Even though we need to start saving, we need to start doing something. It's a hard one.
Well, to have a special election or election, instead of putting this on November, what would it cost?
I would have, I think usually special elections are $40,000. I can't remember. That's just me pulling a number out of the air. I'd have to ask the clerk, treasurer. They do, more on the election side. But we'd also have to coordinate that with the township because, they do our elections. So
You said
I know someone knows the
$40,000.
treasurer of the township that probably could help us out, with those numbers. So
You said 40,000 is what you're thinking? I thought
Mike,
it
do you
was-
know off the top of your head any? Like,
I thought it was 20, but
I could be wrong.
I thought everything was 20,000.
I thought it was 10.
So
I thought
I thought it was 16.
we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
We
don't know.
And it could be a lot lower. I thought with rental of equipment, all of those things in an off election cycle.
Same with Google and
But
stuff.
yeah, that was to me just usually anything in municipal government is $30,000 to $40,000 at that point. So like,
Council, anything else before we?
I think it's a messaging issue. Like we had a speaker this morning or this evening say they would like to see a decrease in our special assessment. Staff has said they want it to go up. It's not like there's money sitting around. So if we put something out that says only for 300,000, like Manager Price is saying, we're going to have issues with the communication. We're going to have problems. People understanding that no, this isn't going to fix everything. We need a ton more money.
I would ask. I mean, I'm not sure. Danny, did you have any thoughts or based on our discussion with this on the road side? Because he's the one that's been looking at it a lot with me. I just want to make sure you have all the informed opinion.
Good evening, council. So I have our.
Can you put the microphone up, please?
I have our newly
Thank you.
formulated budget in front of me. And I can tell you that my entire local road budget, and this includes wages, overtime, retirement, operating supplies, engineering services, training, contractual, equipment rental, equipment and vehicle charges and project costs is $116,000. My project costs for the year are $30,000. That's going to get you patchwork. I can't do anything further with no more money. I do agree with this that we ran the numbers at an astronomical millage rate, and it still is a drop in the bucket. Even with grant matches and everything else, there still really isn't a whole lot of money available through the state, the federal government. It's just not there. And so this is where we really need to figure out how we're going to start saving for some of these projects. That's really where we have
Even
been
if it
at.
was even if it was three times this, we're
Yes.
talking about a half mile of road we could do, if that, per year. So
And we have 27-ish miles of road in the
Correct.
village.
Correct.
Half mile a year, so we could maybe have our roads done in
No,
50
we'd have
years.
that's if we went three times.
That's if we went 3 times what you guys are proposing.
Yeah. Oh, okay, so 150 years we could have our.
But then they would,
Yeah.
constantly.
We'd be back to the beginning again. But you know, at some point during that 150 years, maybe the cost of materials and labor will go down.
That's generally what happens, things go
Yeah,
down.
typically. Okay, I appreciate the discussion. I think I've made what my vote's gonna be clear. I don't believe in kicking the can down the road, but I also think putting it in the voters' hands isn't a bad thing. And misconceptions, fears of misconceptions, all we can do is education. Any last words, council, before we vote?
One last thing. It's my opinion that once we're able to bring parity with the township, with our water rates, the water rates for the normal average residential user should go down in the village out. And a couple other figures too. And I think if we had more data and we could educate the residents, maybe it flies past November. After November.
Oh, you mean if we did a special one? Okay.
Do a special one then.
Our current vote on the table is to consider a village road millage proposal to the electors of the Village of Holly for the November ballot. Please call the roll.
Ryan,
No.
Cole,
No.
Weinberger,
No.
Coskla,
No.
Kyer,
No.
Wendell,
No.
Brandon.
Yes. Motion denied. Okay, moving on. New business. Consideration of approval of a real estate purchase agreement for the purchase of the property located at 400 Elm Street in the amount of $278,250, subject to applicable credits for accrued village fines and appraisal costs. Court approval, title review, due diligence, and final review and approval by the village attorney. The estimated purchase agreement expense to the village after the credits have been applied is $70,550. Do I have a first to consider item A of new business?
I will make that motion.
I will support that.
We have a motion by Coskela. We have a second by Cole. Tim, would you like to introduce this item?
Sure. Probably I've mentioned before that the two economic development questions that I get asked most over the last year and a half since I've been here. First one is, when is the Holly Hotel going to open? That's what everyone asks. And then the second one is from locals ask about $400. Like, what are we doing about that? Why haven't we, stepped in as a village to do it? In the past, we went, and as you look through the documents, you'll see that we went to court with them in the past, and we did nothing with it. We just kind of let it sit. So over the last year, Mike and I have been having discussions about how can we make this happen? How can we force economic development in this scenario, whether it was through the Blighted Area Rehabilitation Act, whether it was through OPRA, with the Obsolete Property Rehabilitation Act, these things. And so we had lots of conversations about this property, with all of the different staff, with the DDA director now. Bless you.
Thank you.
We heard you the first time. And so again, we had a lot of, and then we had kind of a gift fall on us and our lap when this went into receivership. And Mike has been having a lot of conversations with the other attorneys about just getting that number lower and lower and lower for us. The next item that you'll see after this is, all right, once we get this approved, what are the next steps in the RFP process and how we want to develop it? Like, we're not going to be dumping money into the development of it. It's to immediately turn this property for development purposes rather than just sitting on a industrial dilapidated building. So I'll read my notes now. Council is being asked to consider approval of a real estate purchase agreement for the property located at 400 Elm. This is a long vacant former industrial site that has remained a significant source of blight and concern near downtown Holly and Simonson Lake. The proposed acquisition would give the village the opportunity to take the control of the property, address its deteriorated condition, and position the site for future productive use. The purchase price, I would say that it is previously industrial. The future land use has it as a high density residential is what the future land use, and this would be an opportunity for us to kind of move into future land use on it. And we would work with whoever the developer is to help that rezoning process. The purchase price is $278,250. However, the village will receive credits due to the attorney's work, credits for accrued code enforcement fines and appraisal costs, reducing the estimated expense to approximately $70,550, subject to final prorations and closing adjustments. Because the property is currently under the control of a court-appointed receiver, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, the purchase remains subject to the court approval. It is also conditioned upon satisfactory title review, due diligence, and final review and approval by the village attorney. The title commitment identifies several matters that will need to be addressed or reviewed as part of the closing process, including unpaid taxes, recorded forfeitures, and other title exceptions. The staff recommends approval of the purchase agreement and authorization for the village manager and village attorney to take the necessary steps to complete the acquisition subject to the stated conditions.
Public comment on this item. Jan?
Jan Van Zelfde, 15226 Weller Court. So I am actually for this property purchase, with some caveats. I think that it's a really great price and we could probably financially benefit from it as long as, you know, there's no environmental issues that prevents a future buyer from wanting this property. Like, have we done any studies as far as it was industrial and, you know, back in the day, who knows what was dumped onto the property and would have to be removed. So that might prevent a future buyer. I am interested in the high residential as opposed to, I feel like our community has enough of certain businesses. So if we could bring in a little bit of variety to our town, but high residential, would allow more people to move here and hopefully spend their money here. So that would also benefit us financially. So I am for this. I am just a little bit nervous as far as what that property holds. And I just hope that as the council has looked into this, that you're aware of that. And we're not gonna like dig ourselves into a financial hole. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Mr. Mattson?
Ryan Mattson, 15091 Western Valley Drive. A couple concerns. I think that B should be in front of A. We should understand the scope of the project, what the project looks like, what the cost is prior to moving forward with purchasing. There should be, I think, at minimum, a contingency in the purchase agreement about an environmental study. There's been a lot of good points made about the environmental concerns. If there has to be a huge environmental cleanup, EGLE involvement, that's going to take a lot of time, a lot of cost. Developers may be put off by that. I may have misunderstood, but to get a full understanding of what the job is at hand, I think would be good, because just purchasing a property to sit on it and not find developers and have this liability, like now that's the village's property, that's not a private ownership. You know, I'm sure there's been vandalism, break-ins, whatever over the years, because it's just been unkept. So the risk of injury of people that want to do that, that would then fall on the village. So it's very concerning. So I do feel as though that the scope of the project or RFP process should be done first. Because I mean, it's not just going to be 70,000, just over 70,000 by the time it's all said and done. It's going to be a lot of time, a lot of engineering costs. If we have to demolish, that comes with a huge cost. And we just don't have the finances for that. We just had special assessment to help get us by, and now we want to take on a redevelopment fix and flip type scenario. So I just I don't agree that we're in a position right now to do this. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comment? Yes, Ellie.
Ellie Beauchamp, 207 Park Avenue. I just really want to concur with everything Mr. Mattson so eloquently stated. And I think what I was trying to state earlier about this project is, you know, unless we really know what's over there, right? I'm just afraid that we're putting ourselves in a risk situation. You know, it can be millions of dollars to clean up a brownfield. And I don't think we want to take on that responsibility. I kind of feel like if it's such a good deal, why doesn't a developer come in here and develop it and take all those responsibilities? I think that might be a better option than us assuming all the liability that comes with it. Man, it sounds like a great deal. I live around the corner. I would love to see that place rehabbed, but not with my money.
Thank you, Ellie. Angela?
Angela Wallace, 709 Baird Street. I am probably one of the only residents in this room besides Miss Brandon who has walked that property. Me and Miss Brandon walked the property when a local resident a few years ago went missing, and lots, I would say probably half of our community came out looking for him. We walked back there because we were assigned Elm Street, and this place is so unsafe right now to every resident in this village. It's so unsafe. You can walk back there. The bays are completely full of water. When we had this little person go, quote unquote, missing a few weeks ago, when everybody was wondering about the 4-year-old, that was my one concern. That was on Elm Street. There's a lake there. There is the bays there. Any child that walks up to there right now is in imminent danger of drowning. That needs to be taken care of. Whatever the council decides, whatever staff decides, we need to protect our little people and our residents from that area because it is so hazardous back in there behind the building. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Public comment? Yes, sir.
Robin Montgomery, 203 First Street. My opinion is you can't afford not to buy that. I'm the devil's advocate here. I'll guarantee you won't lose money in it. You shouldn't be. If I was interested in the property, I wouldn't want you doing the demolition costs and things like that because I can do it for less than you can. So I've been in construction my whole life. The contaminated soil does not bother high-end developers. There's ways around it. There's ways to clean it up. There's money available. I think I understand the concern, but it's not a concern. It will be dealt with. The property I have, if you look at the property I have out in Saginaw Street, the village tore the old car wash down, and there's a new building there now. I mean, to me, it's the ashes of the phoenix. You can't not buy this property and move on and make it available for somebody to develop it. You know, you have the golden opportunity. You can get it as cheap as anybody can right now, and the cost, you will not lose money. To me, I don't help out as far as the cleanup funds or whatever. Don't do the demolition. Turn it around. I don't know what the legal methods are to make it available for people, but developers will go after that property. It's a potentially beautiful piece of property. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Robert. Yes, please.
Yeah, my name's Gene Rep Boone. I live at 217 College Street. I don't see how anybody can make those guarantees about what is how it will make any money. You say 70,000, but they owe the cost is 278,000. They owe fines, appraisal costs, all that. So you're not just buying it for 70,000. You're giving up 200,000 of tax money of the village residents. So yeah, I'm not sure how a village council can turn into a real estate agent and purchase buildings to flip. So that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Public comment? Reagan?
Reagan Rockwell, 836 Holly Bush Drive. Mr. Montgomery, if you're so
Reagan, you will address the president.
confident in that property, then I would encourage him to buy that property. But I think the last member, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. I'll have to get it afterwards. Daryl, for making the comment that he did. I don't know if it's common. I would have to probably research it a little bit to see if it is common for municipalities to act as a real estate flipping agent. But I think what I wanted to do, and I don't think I portrayed this good enough, is I would love to trust you guys. I would love to trust you, April, and just everyone. I thank you, Mr. Koskela, for saying what you said tonight, and just in regards to the attorney business. But we need to trust you guys. Our roads haven't been maintained. Our roads have not even been swept. And I know I saw a lot of people on Facebook say, oh, my road was swept. My road was swept. I didn't see any pictures. I posted a few pictures of what Saginaw Street looks like, and I have not seen Saginaw Street swept for at least 2 months. In fact, I use the bike lane pretty regularly, and I don't remember the last time I saw it swept. So what I'm seeing is that government seems to be the only sector of the population that can be irresponsible with their finances and continue to acquire and accumulate more and add more to their plate. I want to see our local government be responsible with what we have and to be better stewards across the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Reagan. Public comment? Hearing none, seeing none. I'm going to kick off the council discussion, and hold your horses. I've got like 6 or 7 questions. Okay?
I've got all the answers too.
Okay.
Okay. Me and Mike, I think, yeah.
Number one, how would we recover fines if we didn't purchase this property? And my question includes things such as, could he go bankrupt? Could he end up not paying us back? Can you just kind of fill us in on that, please?
Sure. So when we took him to court years ago, the court gave a per diem fine for every day that property remained unabated. The total of that has never been calculated or reduced to a judgment. The first thing I'll note is that the court-appointed receiver is willing to acknowledge what that total is without us going to court and getting it reduced to a judgment. That is key, first of all. Second of all, if we did obtain a judgment, there's nothing preventing him from discharging it in bankruptcy. So I don't know that we would ever recover those expenses.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a misconception that this is money out there that we have not, that is tax money that we haven't gotten. It's money that is from a court case a long time ago that through Mike and I reviewing it, seeing that, oh, this never occurred, and going back and his careful negotiation with the receivership in order to then apply those credits as if that money were ours. And so if we don't get it, if we don't purchase it, then this would potentially just go away. Like we wouldn't get back regardless.
Sure. So there's nothing to say that we'll ever be able to do cost recovery without this purchase, but that doesn't mean it's in our budget. Do we have $70,000? Where would it come from?
So I wish Lisa was here, because Lisa was the one that in our last session that outlined all of this, exactly where she pulled it from, how she would refund it. It was based on one of the investments that we had.
Quick timeout. Just because this is so important, I just want the public to know that Lisa had a family medical emergency. Otherwise, she would have been here.
That there was an investment fund from Oakland County that she was, they said that there was no penalty withdrawal that we could take from and covered this cost.
Okay. What is the estimated value of the property?
So we actually had an appraisal done, and that council had previously seen. Mike, do you remember the exact amount?
I believe the amount was $265,000, which is exactly what the purchase price is, if you add in a 5% broker's fee, which is customary. The receiver has listed it with the real estate agent, so that's how we come up with the 278.
So I guess I think you already answered this question. I was wondering if a developer bought it, would those fees become their responsibility? But it sounds like the answer to that is no.
If we purchased it.
No,
we-
that's not my question. If a developer
Oh.
bought it, like Ms. Beauchamp put up the idea that the developer could buy it first, let them deal with any nonsense that might be associated with the property. I was wondering if a developer bought it, not us,
That'd be,
would they inherit the fees from the previous owner?
Yeah, the daily fee.
No, I don't believe so.
So that was just one angle I was,
Judgment call.
that's another angle I was checking for cost recovery. So the answer to that is no. Thank you. If we bought it, I know Mr. Wendell and somebody else in the audience, maybe you, were concerned about liability. What is our, what would it do to our insurance? I don't know the appropriate questions to ask here, but I think you might see where I'm going with it.
So I would have, we had brief discussions with MMRMA about like adding it as a vacant, condemned building. We would have to do the proper coordinating, which it's already condemned property, as it sits. I don't know what additional, Chief Marsh might be able to touch on this a little bit. I would have to ask Lisa on the insurance because she's the one that adds all the properties onto it. Mike, did you have any thoughts on that?
Okay. Any information on biohazards or environmental impact surveys, anything?
Yep, so that was part of the appraisal as well, and it is a registered brownfield site. That means that also means that they're through Public Act 381 at the state, I believe, that there's also tax abatements at the state in order to help with cleanup for a developer that would go after this. As Mr. Montgomery mentioned, that, sometimes, obviously there's concern with that depending on the level of cleanup. All of this is available, by the way, if you look on Eagle's site, I believe that you can look at brownfield information. You can look up documents that are 40, 50, 200 pages long about the specifics of what kind of brownfield are there and what the concerns would be with cleanup. That would be all transparent to anyone that is doing the development of this property. Again, many developers look for these kind of things because they know they can get 30-year tax payment from the state during this process if they're doing the cleanup. So,
Council?
So unlike some of my other statements, I'm actually about spending money. I'm actually in favor of this purchase. Some of the reasons why is when you look at an aerial view map of it, you can probably fit about 15 homes right there. And even if they're like smaller homes, to squeeze in as many as you can, and say they're like around 200,000 for the price, that is still about $60,000 a year we would be getting in tax revenue. So after like the first couple years after it's developed, it's more than paid for itself with it. Yes, we might have to wait a little bit to see that money come back. I think overall it would be a good investment for the village and net us positive in a good way.
yeah. And I think everyone that we've kind of talked to has agreed on that point. It would allow us to refund the money back to us, hopefully, relatively quickly. I think the most important thing that we haven't really talked about too much in this is it also allows us to have the reins of this. We can actually decide, all right, if someone doesn't purchase it and just sits on an abandoned property for another 5 years. We can put specific timelines on demolition and reconstruction, all those things, as well as determine what is the intended use of this property as well. So that rather than it be another industrial site, or if we have a need, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in the next one in the RFP, if we determine what this need is that we want in our community, high density residential, below AMI housing, all of these things, we can actually put that as a priority within this RFP that we're doing, and allows us to develop it how we feel is best economically for the village. And to answer the question of municipalities and the real estate flipping business, absolutely. There's all kinds of, there's ordinances, I mean, there's regulations, I mean, 381, many of them that allows mechanisms for us to do exactly what we're doing right now.
Thank you.
I have one point. This hasn't been offered to sale to developers. We are the first people. That's why we're looking at these kind of numbers, correct?
And I will say that I've had developers have come to myself, they've come to the building official throughout the last year and a half, trying to get a hold of this property because they want to develop it. That the owner at the time was not responsive, and they were trying to make cash offers at the time that were in excess of what we're talking about here. So,
Council?
Well, like April had said, the safety thing, if we did purchase it or if we did make the agreement to purchase it, when would we have to secure the property, like shore up a fence around it?
yeah, that's a good question, and I'd have to get with Chief Narsh. I mean, it is marked as, I don't think we have to necessarily put a fence around the entire property. We have to obviously maintain no trespassing signs, all of those things that just, identify the hazard and concern. For the most part, we are protected under general, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, Mike, we're protected under most liability things, unless it's a known hazard that it's an attractive nuisance that people will, if it was in the middle of the road, we would have an obligation to clean it up and take care of it right then. But if we have it marked as a concern, and it's clearly labeled, then we have some liability protection there. Missing anything on that?
No, that's correct. The place is secured and has been secured. The last time I was out there was in the middle of winter, hoping to, eyeball it, see what it was like. And I walked the entire thing. I tried every, way to see if it was open, completely secure. So we would have to maintain that, of course. And there's no protection to us should someone break in and harm themselves. But if there's no trespassing signs, then that should absolve us, in addition to governmental immunity, which we enjoy.
Thank you. Clerk?
A couple things.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jim.
So I want to thank
Go right ahead.
staff and Mr. Gildner, and hearing all the stuff that's been going on behind the scenes to make this work. You guys really put a lot of effort in. So thank you for all of that. What potential risks do we have if we buy it financially and we sit on it?
I mean, obviously the risks and costs that we're purchasing right now, the $70,000. Again, had many developers already say that they were already interested in purchasing it. Again, we're not doing this to make money on it. We're doing this to promote economic development. Now, when we put out RFPs, we might get offers in excess of how much we paid, or in excess of even the appraised amount, depending on what they use it as the development, and that's the decision we make. That money would go back into the general fund, into to the taxpayers' uses. So the risk is that $70,550.
It's my understanding the current owner has always been perpetually delayed on taxes. So it's always a difficult process to even collect on those previous taxes.
When I've looked at register of deeds, it seems to be a property that every 3 years, they would, right before, the month before it would go into tax collection, they would pay off the previous year. So every 3 years, it's a process.
And when we obtained a judgment against them those years ago, our proposal then was, look, we'll purchase it. Are you interested? And he made clear, under no circumstances, at no time would he sell, that he would leave the building up just to aggravate us. And it's been that way now all these years.
And I will say that if we're looking at the long-term strategy of this too, and we're looking at as Mr. Ryan said, how much tax revenue we could get on this property too, if we were to have these things too. Even if we were to take that, if we were to lose that $70,550 initial investment, and the developer takes it, they do all of the costs, the building and all of that, we would recover that amount in the increase in taxes fairly quickly over a short period of time. So
it wouldn't take them 3 years to pay it.
What's that?
And it wouldn't take me 3 years to pay.
Yeah, exactly, so.
Okay. Clerk, please call the roll.
Wendell,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Weinbrenner,
Yes.
Costello,
Yes.
Kyer,
She stepped out.
Brandon.
Yes. Motion carried.
Thank you, Council.
She will be back. Council discussion on the issuance of a request for proposals for the redevelopment of 400 Elm Street following finalization of the village's purchase of the property with the intent of soliciting qualified development partners and reuse concepts that align with the village's long-term redevelopment goals. Do I have a first to consider item B of new business?
I'll make a motion to consider B as a discussion for business.
I will support.
We have a motion by Weinbrenner. We have support from Cole. Tim, would you like to introduce this item?
I absolutely would. So this is not something we're gonna have to vote on. It's just a discussion piece. I wanted to have this ready, in case we approve this, so that we weren't stagnant for another, a month on this, that we wanted to get the process started immediately upon closure, when we finalize the real estate purchase. As long as that goes through, I wanted to have a RFP ready to submit. Now, this is just a draft version we have right now, because I wanted input from council about the priorities, needs. It doesn't all have to come tonight. You can email it to me, and we will revise this into a finalized version. The purpose of the RFP is to begin identifying qualified development partners and creative reuse concepts that can eliminate the existing blight, address environmental and structural concerns, and return the site to productive use. I want to emphasize this document before council is still a draft and is not ready for issuance. Before it is finalized, I would like to improve its overall presentation. I want to make it look pretty so it's attractive to developers. I want it to be polished, visually engaging, and effective in marketing the opportunity to experienced developers. I would also like council's direction on strengthening the housing component of the RFP. The current draft broadly encourages new housing choices, but I believe we should give additional consideration to proposals that include attainable or workforce housing for households earning below 80% of the area median income. This does not necessarily need to be an absolute requirement, but it should be clearly identified as a community benefit and appropriately reflected in the proposal requirements and evaluation criteria. Tonight's discussion is intended to gather council's feedback on the redevelopment vision, desired housing outcomes, design expectations, and any other priorities that should be incorporated before a final RFP is brought back for issuance.
Do I have a first to consider? Sorry, that's not wrong spot. Let's try that again, April. Any public comment on this item? Jane?
Again, council, I'm a resident of the Village of Holly. I live on East Holly Road. I would just like to know, I appreciate the manager having a plan put together. I would like just to simply see this and to know if the residents would be able to have a little bit of say on that as well. I know that you're anxious and hoping for the best in this. So good luck. And I would just like to see a copy of this. So thank you.
And if you go to that QR code right there, the RFP is on there. Yep.
And you said we don't need to vote on this?
We don't need to vote on this. This is just a discussion piece. Again, I want feedback from not only from the council, but also as the discussion point for community, for residents out there that might be watching, if they, were to message the staff so that we can incorporate any of these ideas.
Any further public comment? Hearing none.
Oh,
Reagan?
nope.
I just wanted to ask if that did go for,
You will address the president, please.
as in, Madam President. Is that how you want to be addressed? I've not heard anybody else have to do that. I've addressed the entire council. Good evening, council. I'm wondering if what the village manager proposed in having, it sounded like it was maybe going to be some lower income housing. I just wonder how that goes along with what Mr. Ryan said. I think you had the figure of 60,000 if it was turned into
I think I made it
houses.
clear when I said you will address the president, and that is the proper process.
So with that being said, I would just like to know if it's going to still, how much it's going to generate in additional tax revenue. Thank you.
Thank you, Reagan. Any further public comment? Hearing none, seeing none. Council, discussion?
First, I would like to say that public comments are addressed to all of council, not just the president. We are a public body, not a body of one.
Actually,
But I
that
would
is
like-
not what I was informed by legal, so why don't we actually hash this out with Gildner real quick while we're here?
So the president is the moderator of the meeting, and all I saw tonight is that comments are supposed to be addressed to the chair. That is what I always advise members of the public and members of council, because anytime naturally someone is speaking and is looking at someone else, it invites dialogue. And at a meeting like this where you don't have a full house, maybe you can get by with that. But we have all seen what happens when there's a crowd and people are not addressing the chair. Then you get back and forth, you get debate, things of that sort. So I saw nothing improper with simply saying, don't look at someone else, address it to the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Gildner. Ryan?
I like the idea of the low income housing below a certain percentage, so that's something that I would 100% support and having in there for it.
I agree with Mr. Ryan on that aspect. I think that our village needs some other options as far as like housing we have here, low income, whether it's apartment, townhome, single family homes that are of a smaller nature, however we can do. We have a multitude of people that I'm sure would be happy to be a part of that.
Thank you. Anyone else, council?
Performance bond. Can we mandate that's in a RFP, or is that something that you put in an RFP?
Your time is up, Jim.
Yeah, it can be mandated. Well, it would be mandated, we could articulate that in an RFP, we could mandate it in a purchase agreement.
So I think something like that would be beneficial, simply so we don't have the same thing that happened with the delayed opening of the dispensary in town. We lost, I don't know if it was $100,000 or $50,000 in tax revenue because they were so delayed. So if we had a performance bond in there, we could say, if you're not doing something, you're going to end up paying us. Or however it works.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we should, all timelines and performance, objectives, all of that. needs to-
Reverts back to the village, whatever.
And some of that already is in there, but we could probably strengthen language. Again, these are to elicit proposals from different developers. I will say the tax question, I'll just address that as well, because the Councilman Ryan, the resident said, so the current taxable value on the property itself, because it hasn't been assessed in a long time, it's not paid at taxable value, $74,820. So even if we were to get a house, one house built there for $200,000, the taxable value would be in excess of what is current. So if we did 12 houses at 300, 350, whatever they would be, that, we would have, all we have to do is put one decent house in there that have a higher taxable value than we currently have on what exists. Obviously, the more expensive houses, the higher taxable value. However, that isn't necessarily what the community needs. So we need affordable housing for people that live and work here.
I also do think we have to honor the one resident who did speak earlier about making sure that we are paying attention to the actual lake and what is developed on that lakefront.
And so when in discussions with Chief Watson and Director Matsberg, that the biggest comment that Jeremy made to me was, we need to make sure that we have that portion like spelled out about the protection of it and to correct errors that have occurred in the past at that drainage site there.
Is it possible to create maybe even like a slice of like a conservation easement along that water?
All things are possible. So yeah, I mean, we can write it up as however council desires, and we can say, put it in there that that's not a mandate, but if you know, if we were to submit that as an option in your packet, then we you know, then your attractive would be more, we'd hold it at a higher, we'd evaluate it at a higher level. You could also have mandate that there has to be some public space, like they have to maintain it as some kind of like park or thing too. So all these things could be part of that.
And can you clarify who would be actually selecting the?
So the village council, so we would submit the RFPs and the village council would be reviewing these and making a decision.
Thank you.
We'd also, on that too, I believe we'd also have to do a public hearing on it because our charter establishes that anytime we relinquish property, we have to do a public hearing on it. So we would, I think the most likely scenario would be we do a public hearing where we have all the developers and all of the information, and from that we would make some kind of decision. The council would process.
Okay. Item C, consideration of approval of the CEC Controls proposal for phase 1 of a cellular-based communication upgrade between the water treatment plant and the Quick Road Water Tower, replacing the failed radio system and establishing the groundwork for future tower communication upgrades in the not-to-exceed amount of $9,000. Do I have a first to consider item C of new business?
I will make the motion to consider item C of new business.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Kyer. We have a second by Weinbrenner. Danny, the floor is yours.
Good evening, council. As you can see in front of you, we have a council action request. The basis of the village water system runs on the level of water within the towers. So if a tower is calling for water or it's getting low on water, the plant has to start, it charges the system, therefore filling the tower. The problem that we're having out at Quick Road is the communication is radio based. It's original 2006 when we developed that water tower. Due to the homes that have been developed there as well as trees that have grown in the way, the radio is now failing and we are not getting proper signal to the water treatment plant, which is causing it to kind of short cycle, and it's causing it to do a lot of really funny things that we're unable to understand just because it is not properly communicating between each other. We have talked to a few companies about finding like parts for this radio. Of course, it's 20 years old. Everything's outdated. We can't find parts for it. I know that you hear that a lot from me, but it's just the nature of the beast. So CEC Controls is the same company that has been doing the PLC upgrades at the wastewater treatment plant. They have more than proven themselves with their abilities to do this type of work. And so we approached them because they also have a basic understanding of the programming at the water treatment plant. And so they would be able to integrate a cellular-based communication at the water treatment plant, which would lay the groundwork for doing the 2 other towers as well in the future. It's unneeded right now because the radios are still working. We would like to see them be upgraded in the future, but right now our main concern is getting the radio or the cellular communication happening between Quick Road and the water treatment plant. So.
Thank you, Danny. Please be seated for a moment.
Sure.
Any public comment on this item? Hearing none, seeing none. Council discussion. Danny, you can take the podium. Thank you.
I do have one question. The Quick Road Water Tower, how many homes does that service? And are those the homes that are over in the township?
No, not necessarily. We have two pressure zones. That's our high pressure side, which is serviced by Quick Road. Basically, it is Saginaw Street to the west would be high pressure side. There's some little inconsistencies in there where, you know, the low pressure side does come over into it, but if I could give you a general roundabout, it would be from Saginaw Street west.
So this services a multitude of houses?
Yes.
Very good.
Is this something that we had identified during the budget study session that we would need to be replaced, or is this something that just came up?
No, this was not identified.
Okay.
I'd like to point out that most of us up here are on the high pressure side, so go high pressure side. Thank you. Is there a monthly bill for this? It's a cell phone, so we're gonna have.
For this, yes, there will be like a monthly associated cost.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, one of the concerns too is, we were talking previously about power outages.
Mm.
So if we have a long period of power, is this gonna cause an issue if it's not a direct point to point and now it's going through a cell phone?
Each tower has a battery backup, and so currently the battery backup is what runs the radio communication. So it would basically be based off of a battery backup.
I was saying even if our cell phone tower goes down, for instance, I don't know if our towers here in town have generators, but if they're down,
We set generators at the towers if we lose power.
well, they don't power the cell phone towers that our equipment would run off of.
Correct, correct.
No concerns about that.
No, because we would be based off of like, it'd be based off of our cell service that we use throughout the village. So it's kind of like a first responders type situation.
FirstNet.
Yeah, FirstNet.
Okay. Hopefully they have a generator.
The idea would be to continue to have the radio within the tower.
Yep.
Even though it is still inconsistent signal, it would still be something that we could keep there as a possible backup.
Council.
What happens to the water if these systems are down?
I'm sorry?
Like, how does it affect the water with those systems down? Say we can't communicate to it?
Mm-hmm.
How does that like affect the water, the quality of it?
Well, it's not going to affect any of the quality. It's just a matter of us knowing when the communication is down and then going in and manually starting the plant in order to fill it up. At that point, we would have somebody just monitoring the plant at that point to monitor the level of the tower.
Tricky.
I think this would be, basically, it reduces our personnel costs of having to have it constantly monitored as well, right?
Well, correct, right.
Briefly, what happens if we don't purchase this?
We'll continue to have problems at the water treatment plant. We've already, part of one of the things that Tim added was a pump repair. So again, it's short cycling our pumps within the plant. We've already had failures because of this. So we'll start seeing more failures within the water treatment plant itself.
Thank you, Danny.
So you mentioned reducing the employee cost, Tim? The employee cost said it would be reduced from this, not having to have someone there monitoring it all the time?
Well, right now, if the signal's going down,
Right.
we would have to put someone on there to actually monitor. We have an increased cost. This is basically saying that that remote system that currently exists is failing us. And now if we didn't, we would have to have employees on site monitoring at all times rather than being able to do it remotely.
And we have had an increase in overtime because of the alarms that we have gotten. I have been there multiple times at 3 o'clock in the morning because I get an alarm that something is wrong. So it's not just the guys in overtime, it's me as well.
So just based off this like past year's budget that just from fiscal year 26, it would have saved us money from overtime alone if we had it done a year ago.
I'm sure.
Okay. Please call a roll.
That's me. Got a new job. Cole,
Yes.
Weinbrenner,
Yes.
Costello.
Yes.
Kyer,
Yes.
Wendell,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes, motion carried.
Thank you, council.
Thank you, Danny. Item
Don't go too far.
D, consideration of council of the Consumers Energy Agreement and associated payment in the amount of $8,030.61 for electric and gas service installation at the Holly Union Depot located at 225 South Broad Street, including the electric facility, line extension, electric service, gas service connection, and related costs. Do I have a first to consider item D of new business?
I'll make the motion to consider item D of new business.
I'll
Motion-
second it.
Motion by Wendell, support by Weinbrenner. Danny, would you please introduce this item?
Yes, I can. I'll have Tim piggyback if he needs to. So one of the things that we identified that we would like to do with some of the remaining funds that are within the depot fund that were fundraised monies, not taxpayer money, was to make sure that the building itself has gas and electric service so that we are ready to move forward with the next phases of the project. One of the big pushes that I have for getting it power is the fact that we did notice that we have quite a bit of, it's not necessarily a water problem, but we do have water accumulation. And so we would like to be able to hook the sump pump up that we did install in order to evacuate some of the water that may be sitting underneath of the building. As well as, like I said, getting ready for the next phase of the project. Anything else, Tim? Okay.
So this is not taxpayer funded
Shannon?
money. This is
We
the,
have to wait for council discussion, please.
oh, sorry.
Danny, please be seated.
Mhm.
Public comment.
Oh, public.
Well, I guess don't go far, Danny. You can come back now. Hearing none and seeing none. Shannon? kick it
Okay,
off.
I just want to be sure this was what was left over in the donation funds. We are not taking this from taxpayer money and all of that.
That is correct. This is still within the depot
I'm sorry,
fund.
you know what? Can you say that a little bit louder, please?
Not taxpayer money. This was left over from the depot fund that was fundraised, grants were given, lots of
Correct.
work
This
went
is-
into it.
This was 100% grant funded and donations from the depot fund in order to do this part of the project.
I happened to be out at the park today, Crable Park with my kids, and there were some utility trucks out there. Have they started working on it already?
No.
Council? Please call the roll.
Ryan,
Yes.
Wendell,
Yes.
Kyer,
Yes.
Costello,
Yes.
Weinberger,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Hello,
Brandon.
thank you.
Sorry.
Yes, motion carried.
He wanted to make sure you addressed the president the right way.
Consideration of council of FOIA appeal by Anna Matson dated June 23rd, 2026. Do I have a first to consider item E of new business?
I'll make the motion to consider item E of new business.
Second.
Motion by Ryan. Second by Kyer. Lisa is not here to introduce this item. Tim, could you do your best, please?
Yeah, and I might have to, if I can tag it a little bit.
Okay.
I don't do anything with the FOIAs as far as this side of appeals. As I'm looking at it, it's a appeal for charges to the head of the public body, which based on our FOIA, our FOIA policy is defined as council. And so council has to decide if they want to, how they want to answer this appeal. Mike, did you have any specifics on this one?
No, I'm sure there's gonna be questions, but as council knows, I'm not involved in answering these or calculating costs or things of that sort, so I too am largely dependent on Lisa's calculations.
Okay, I will introduce it further. I will not introduce it. I will read it word for word in a bit, but first, any public comment on this item? Hearing none, seeing none. Okay, here we go for discussion. To the village council. Oh, actually, first of all, I'd like to start by addressing Ms. Matson's assertion that we are late in reviewing this FOIA request. At approximately 5:40, before our last council meeting, she turned in an email asking for an appeal. To the best of 3 attorneys' knowledge, our clerk treasurer and the deputy, since that email was turned in after closing hours, an hour before our meeting, that meeting did not qualify as the next meeting, but this one does, to review the FOIA appeal at. Did I word that appropriately? Gildner?
Yes, and to that point, so this is gonna be a longer answer maybe than you anticipate.
Sure.
The statute says that with respect to a request for records under FOIA, which this is not, it says if the request is submitted by email or some other electronic transmission, it's not considered received until the following business day. That language is not found with appeals, either appeals as to the cost or appeals as to records. Which I'm sure.
That's where Mattson gets her point from.
Yes.
Yes, and it
was-
sounds like a legit concern.
Was noted.
Yes.
Was noted. You're correct, it was turned in, it was, not turned into the clerk, wasn't sent to the manager nor to me. Apparently it was emailed to council at 5:41, after hours, after the office had closed. And as the 3 of you know, the ethics committee was meeting with Tim and I at that very moment that it arrived. We met at 5:30. I think that ethics committee broke up right at 6 to come out here for the meeting. So, you know, for those who suggested that, you know, I should have caught this, I don't know how anybody could expect anybody to know that this is there and it needs to be processed. I'm going to just put it plainly. That was gamesmanship. It was turned in at 5:41 after hours, just 19 minutes before the meeting, to put us so that we're having this argument. It's exactly what it is. No doubt about it. So I think what a judge is going to be presented with is, although that language about it not being received until the next business day is not found with respect to appeals, under the circumstances of what went on at that meeting, and when this arrived and all of that, I don't think a judge is going to say that you all were required to hear it at that meeting. And since I'm building a record, I'll also indicate that that last meeting, I left here early and it was 11:30 p.m. There were at least 3 items that were not attended to because the meeting was running so long. So you add that to the mix. Was her item supposed to take priority over everything else that evening? So under those circumstances, I do not believe that you could have handled it at the next meeting. We're at a disadvantage tonight without Lisa present. We were equally disadvantaged at the last meeting because the whole point of an appeal is to enable staff to gather records, prepare to give the presentation, the argument, which no one was afforded. So under those circumstances, I do not believe it's late. I do believe that you can act. And I apologize for that verbose answer.
If I dovetail on that too, is that, so, although, as we already said, that maybe appeals aren't directly addressed, and that it would be unlikely that the MCL would have a different standard for that. I also, just having worked in the federal government side, FOIA is everywhere. I looked at the federal standards of different departments, and they are articulated differently based on different departments, but almost universally, it's anything after 5 p.m. is considered the next business day for FOIA, as well as some that are saying if it's received that day, it's not considered, if it's received electronically, it's not considered received until the next business day.
And to confirm that, our clerk deputy said, she cited the Code of Federal Regulations saying that it must be received before 5 p.m. to even potentially be considered for being received that day as well. Now, the legal opinion was shared by Attorney Gildner, Attorney Jeremy Brown, and Attorney Carlito Young, correct,
Yes,
Tim?
I spoke with both of them after the fact. just a few days ago, ran through this scenario and they agreed with me that at
But
30
you know what,
seconds
I'm
before
good
you
here.
come in-
I'm going, for brevity's sake, I'm gonna go ahead and agree with the three attorneys. Thank you. Here's the FOIA. To the Village Council, I am appealing the fees charged in response to my May 7th, 2026 Freedom of Information Act request seeking records relating to ethics complaints and investigations. Specifically, my request was for, number one, ethics complaints and investigations. Any and all complaints lodged against elected or appointed board members that pertain to ethics concerns, regardless of whether they were formally classified as ethics violations. I would also like any follow-up public records for each of these complaints, such as communication, investigations, and determinations. 2, ethics committee records, copies of all minutes, agendas, and official communications from the ethics committee during this period. 3, related correspondence. Any correspondence and communication, including but not limited to emails, memos, texts, or letters that discuss or reference ethics, ethics complaints, the ethics committee, ethics reviews, ethics concerns, or investigations involving board members. By phrasing the request in this manner, I aim to ensure that it encompasses all records that might relate to ethics matters, including those that may have been considered informal or not officially labeled as violations. This would include complaints lodged against any appointed or elected board members, even if you do not believe it crossed the line of an official ethics complaint. This request was submitted to educate the public regarding how ethics complaints are handled by the current village administration and whether those complaints are investigated and resolved fairly, consistently, and legally. My previous ethics-related FOIA request sought records dating back to 2020. 6 years, okay. After the village denied my appeal regarding unlawful fees associated with that request, I had the option to seek judicial review. Rather than immediately pursuing litigation, I submitted a narrowed request limited to records from January 1st, 2025 through the present, so that residents could specifically evaluate the actions of the current administration. Initially, the village attempted to charge attorney review fees and IT fees. After I informed staff of these unlawful charges and my plan to challenge them, they were removed. At the time, I was encouraged to see the village correct those errors. It was the first time in years I had seen the village make a good faith attempt to correct unlawful actions. Because the village corrected these unlawful charges, I did not initially scrutinize the remaining labor charges as closely as I should have. Upon further review, however, the village continues to assess fees in a manner inconsistent with Michigan law. The fee itemization form states that the search was performed by the lowest paid employee capable of performing the search, location, and examination, and identifies that employee as village manager Tim Price at a wage rate of $57.44 per hour plus fringe benefits. I'm going to stop here and I'm going to ask Tim, were you the lowest paid employee capable of pulling up your own emails?
Yes, well, specifically to review the emails, because much of it was attorney client information, it was ethics information, obviously that's what we were discussing, because that's what the request was. Almost exclusively those emails were between the village attorney and myself.
Gildner, were you the lowest paid employee capable of redaction of some of these emails?
I was asked to redact them, and I believe so. I don't know who else can determine whether it's privileged.
So to me, while Ms. Manson is stating those were unlawful charges that the village removed, it sounds more like it was a courtesy that those charges were removed.
I think the you're talking about previously.
That paragraph up where she said
Unlawful charges to the plan to challenge them, they were removed. I feel like that is a definitely misleading statement.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know.
Can you charge attorney fees as part of FOIA?
Yeah, can you charge attorney fees as part of FOIA?
in our response? When we're responding to a FOIA request, is that the question? Can we charge attorney fees? If the attorney is the lowest paid employee capable of doing that work, yes, I believe that you can.
And you are the lowest paid employee capable of doing certain redactions from sensitive emails.
I don't know who else it would be.
I think that's not based on my memory. My memory, there was a meeting that we had, it was like 7 or 10 times minimum wage we can charge.
Which would be.
I think I don't think we can charge the attorney's rate.
Which would be in excess of the $57.
Well, I think, no, we can't charge an attorney rate. We
I
can't
think
charge
you can
attorney
do
rates. I think
Contracted services like using
Yeah.
IT or attorney.
it's like 10 or 7 times the minimum wage, I think.
I don't know what the amount is. I know it's something. I just
Yeah.
don't know what it is.
I think that's what it is.
Gilner, do you have an answer to that?
Not sure I understand.
So
Are you saying that, well, let me just ask you to rephrase it.
Yeah, so I'm confident that Mr. Young has told us that we cannot charge attorney fees. We are only able to charge a factor of minimum wage. And I don't remember what that factor is. So for instance, if minimum wage is $7 or $10, we can charge 10 times or 7 times or something like that for attorney. So a roundabout way we can charge for attorney fees, but I don't think we can charge his attorney fee.
And to my knowledge, with respect to this particular FOIA,
Mhm.
the village did not. We've gone round and round on that with Ms. Matson and the calculation of fees previously. And I was not asked to provide, my actual time and asked to pass that on to Ms. Matson.
So I don't think it's stated. She's talking about me.
Oh, so why did you bring up?
The question was asked.
Because in the previous paragraph, it said, after I informed staff of the unlawful charges of attorney review fees, they were removed.
Okay.
So we have an itemization form, if you care to pull it out of your agenda, if you guys want to start reviewing that while I'm making my way through this. It's the third page of this. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, it's the 5th page.
If you're looking online, it's page 243, at least on my packet.
Page 243. So you guys start looking through that, I'll move on in the, I'll move on.
The itemization does show that we are charging 6 times the state minimum wage as was said.
Okay,
That's what's
so
on there.
when she says attorney fees, what we're charging for attorney fees actually is the formula that Jim stated. So we are charging appropriately?
That is the formula Jim stated, that's what we're charging. We are
Okay.
not charging
They have a
Mike's
times
hourly
six.
rate.
We're not charging $150 an hour, we're charging the proper formula in the attorney line, the 6 times factor of minimum wage. And when Mrs. Matson
And on there, we're not.
claimed that she challenged them, that this was an unlawful charge, they were removed. So as I was wondering, now my question's been answered, they weren't removed because they were unlawful, they were removed as a courtesy, it sounds like. Moving on. I should have brought my glasses. The records produced by the village do not support that claim. The village produced 164 pages of records. Of those records, only 8 pages involved communication between Mr. Price and individuals outside the organization. The remaining records were communication between Mr. Price, village staff, and members of the council. Furthermore, only 31 pages of the records produced did not include a member of the village council. That means approximately 133 pages of the 164 pages of responsive records existed in the possession of 1 or more council members. Email communications exist in the accounts of both the sender and the recipient. Therefore, the overwhelming majority of responsive records could have been located through the accounts of council members or other village employees, rather than through an exclusive search of the village manager's email account. It is also important for the council to consider the broader implications of this. The village is asserting that only the village manager is capable of locating records contained within his own email account. If that is true, it raises significant transparency and records management concerns, one that council should address immediately. Okay, I'm gonna obey that command immediately. Only Mr. Price. Well, no, because we could use an IT company, a third party, to access your email, and then we would have to pass those charges on to Mrs. Mattson as well, correct?
That'd be correct.
The same thing
and
as-
this is not a correct statement that I'm the only one able to get it. I'm the lowest paid employee that could actually
The lowest
review
paid.
it and redact it and all of that.
And you're still the lowest paid employee,
That's capable of performing that task, I believe.
because the option is to have a third party, the IT company, just like if we've had previous, village managers and clerk treasurers that are no longer here. So if their records need to be accessed, they no longer have access to their emails, so we have to use a third party to access those emails. And then in lieu of you reviewing for redaction, it would have to be Gildner, who happens to maybe make more than you.
Yeah, we already said 170 an hour.
So the lowest paid employee, and or lowest, it's lower than hiring the third party to do it.
And again, those additional costs don't go away, they just get eaten by taxpayers, everyone else, so.
Okay.
Madam President?
Mhm.
Now, I also take exception, I think, to stating that we are able to access our own email and find responsive records.
I don't like it either.
I'm not the FOIA coordinator.
I
And that
know.
was one of the items I'm gonna bring up in council comments here. I think that needs to be fixed, because I don't want to be responsible for trying to decide what is a responsive record. And then someone saying,
Mhm.
no, you purposely hid this record and that's why I didn't get it. That's not my job. I should be the one figuring out what is a responsive record and trying to go back and ask the submitter what is a responsive record.
Yeah.
So this last FOIA, I just said I wasn't gonna do it, and I sent staff all my emails. So,
We have had previous council members that never accessed their email. They could have, they chose not to. They were not internet savvy. I would be worried about individuals like that in the future because they have access to it. We're obviously the lowest paid employee. We make $900 a year. Okay. But if we've got people on here, you know, none of these people are necessarily educated in any way, right? We're just elected. I don't like that we have to do our own FOIAs either. However.
I don't think we do.
However, you know, if the lawyer determines that that's the case, that we are responsible, then it's just another risk of running for office. Moving on, previous village managers did not operate with this level of exclusivity over public records. That's a strange assertion. More importantly, the village clerk serves as the custodian of records and is responsible for maintaining and producing public records in response to FOIA requests. If the clerk cannot independently access, search, or retrieve records maintained by the village manager, well, she could through that third party, then the village has created a system in which access to public records is dependent upon a single individual. So I think we've laid that to rest. There is a third party available for those things. To put this into perspective, federal agencies routinely process FOIA requests involving communications of cabinet secretaries and other high-ranking officials through designated FOIA officers. The village provides the manager with greater exclusivity. Well, sure, we could hire a FOIA coordinator. Should we hire another employee right now? I'm not asking a serious question, that's rhetorical. The village provides the manager with greater exclusivity over his communication than exists for many senior federal officials. Continuing on about the FOIA, the village charged for 2 hours of village manager time to conduct this search. Yet the records requested were not hidden, archived, or stored in obscure locations. A capable employee can locate emails in minutes by conducting keyword searches using items such as ethics, ethics complaints, ethics policy, investigation, complaint, and similar terms.
I guess your necklace said the heck with it.
The village has provided no explanation for why 2 hours of village manager time was necessary to locate records that largely existed in multiple custodians' accounts and could have been identified through routine keyword searches. Tim, those searches also include you having to check for redaction, correct?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm satisfied, thank you. Village President April Brandon has previously defended the practice of free requests when she was the requester. No, I didn't. When I had a free FOIA, it was because it was conducted entirely by council. And you don't charge for that. I'm not gonna charge any of you if you FOIA something that's just for my emails and doesn't need attorney redaction. Her justification was that council members located and provided the records themselves, requiring little or no staff time. In fact, she stated, oh, this is fun. I'm quoting someone quoting me. This is like fourth wall stuff here. We don't get to factor in the lowest paid wage when we do stuff for FOIAs. We do that on our own free time. The residents don't get charged. According to President Brandon's standards, I should not have been charged for the location of 133 pages of 164 responsive records. So this was all ethics stuff, right?
That's correct.
So it all had to be reviewed for redaction.
Yeah. and
Thank
just-
you. If council members were capable of locating and providing responsive records for prior requests without generating chargeable labor costs, then the village cannot reasonably claim that 133 pages of records containing council communication required 2 hours of village manager time billed at $57.44 per hour. For these reasons, I request the labor charges be removed or substantially reduced. At a minimum, the village should recalculate the fees using the wage of the lowest paid employee actually capable of locating the records as required by Michigan FOIA. So it sounds to me at this moment like Tim is indeed the lowest paid employee capable of locating those records. If the village denies this appeal, I request a written explanation identifying which specific records required a search by Mr. Price personally, why those records could not have been located through the accounts of council members or other participants to the communications, why 2 hours of village manager time was necessary to locate records that could be found through basic email keyword searches, and the factual basis for the village's assertion that Mr. Price was the lowest paid employee capable of performing the search. This appeal represents my good faith effort to resolve this matter without involving the courts. Too often, when residents challenge unlawful actions, the discussion shifts to the person litigating, rather than the conduct that made litigation necessary in the first place. The reality is that lawsuits generally do not arise when you are following the law. They arise because public bodies choose not to be transparent, fair, and lawful when given the opportunity to do so. The village council now has that opportunity. You may choose to correct these fees and demonstrate a commitment to transparency and compliance with Michigan FOIA. Or you may choose to defend charges that are inconsistent with the statute and force the matter into another legal proceeding. That decision rests entirely with the council. As village officials continue asking taxpayers to provide additional revenue to fund village operations, the council should carefully consider whether correcting an unlawful fee and providing public records openly is the easier and less costly path, or whether continuing to resist disclosure serves either the taxpayers or the village itself. Thank you, Anna Matson. Council discussion.
If I'm not mistaken, she asked to have the emails from Tim, correct?
Yes.
So then what would that have to do with any of us sending anything in? If she asked for them from Tim, then Tim's the one who has to get them.
She's asserting that Tim was being dishonest, that some of those emails could have come from us instead of from him, that he had to do that work.
If this is her actual request in here, she never actually names Tim or village manager as the person that can come. If that answers your question, Wendell.
Council? I think actually you were gonna say something, weren't you?
Well, I was just gonna say, I disagree with Jim, that I think council has a responsibility for FOIAs to produce documents when need to as a public official. do I think, since it's ethics, the ethics committee could have forward some of those emails or communications to the FOIA coordinator? Probably. Should that reduce the cost a little bit? Maybe. I don't know for sure how much that would reduce it. Obviously, without a FOIA coordinator here to help explain that. How much it would be.
I
whether
will
it's $1
state
or
that because I
$100,
was
no
the
idea.
subject of FOIA, like, yeah, I happily went through my email and forwarded on anything that I had.
Same. I also, as a member of that committee, FOIA produced everything, but there are names and such that are sensitive matter that I do believe that somebody should be looking to see what needs to be redacted on that isn't me.
And
Right.
I'm not
I
the
agree.
attorney
I agree with
there.
that.
So absolutely, I will give you everything in my email. They can have my passwords. I have zero issues with that, but I am not going to be the person who decides whether somebody who has an ethics complaint needs to have their name put out there if it was an unsubstantiated thing or it is some sort of like a personnel issue. I'm not putting people's names out. At our last meeting, Mr. Ryan did ask for like a cost breakdown of attorney fees and where all that stuff was going and how much more that cost. And Lisa did give that to us. And I super appreciate that you asked that. And some of these things are that certain parts of these things have to go to attorneys to decide whether or not they need to be redacted. And that's part of FOIA costs. We are not charging for any of that. We are just charging Tim's fees and handling that, which in this instant does not seem that it's out of the question.
Yeah, and I submitted things as well. So to assert that Tim was the only one submitting isn't necessarily the full truth. Tim is reviewing, Gildner is reviewing. Was it 2 hours worth of review? Sorry, but it's 164 pages?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's also, it just goes to 164, those are released. Like attorney-client, that doesn't mean we're not looking at 700 pages.
Mhm.
It still need to be
Received.
reviewed and redacted. Just because that's the number received, that doesn't mean that's how many actually.
Thank you for that distinction.
Yeah, thanks. I didn't realize that either. So yeah, that would make it smaller with those lines blocked out.
Or just send all the picture papers with nothing on it now.
I just want to be clear, I agree with you guys with the reaction aspect of it, but that's why I'm like, I don't know if it should be reduced $100, $1, whatever it might be.
I mean, it's only $130.
I'm uncomfortable with reducing it because her assertions are that it is unlawful, it is illegal, it is Tim lying. I feel like reducing it at all validates those assertions. That's
Well,
my
and
opinion.
It looks like it's already been reduced.
Yeah, they've given lots of courtesy here that's not being appreciated, and I don't understand why.
I mean, it's $100 in legal fees that we're not charging at all. We're charging zero for
For
that.
a lot of work.
Yeah, the village.
That we
is
still have to
eating
pay
parts of
for.
that.
Yeah, this isn't cost recovery. This is an expense that is taxpayer money is spent on this. That is their time. That is our expense. So we have to be fiscally responsible. Anything else, you guys? Please call the roll. Hold on, wait a minute. What was can we repeat the motion, please? It's been an hour.
Consideration of council FOIA appeal by NMS and dated June 23rd, 2026. So in this context, I believe the aye votes would affirm the appeal saying yes, that you were appealing that, a nay would be that you do not agree with waiving the fees, correct? Yes. All right.
Okay,
I'll make sure.
please call the roll.
Linebringer,
No.
Windle,
No.
Ryan,
Yeah.
Costa,
No.
Cole,
No.
Kyer,
No.
Brandon.
No, motion denied. We will now move on to item G, which was added to the packet by the village manager for the emergency work order. Village council consideration of approval of the emergency work order with Peerless Midwest for water distribution system pump repairs in an amount not to exceed $14,833.44. Do I have a first to consider? Item G of new business.
I'll make the motion to consider item G of new business.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Ryan, second by Weinbrenner. Danny, it's all you.
Good evening again, council. Peerless Midwest is a company that specifically deals with well house maintenance and general overhauls, complete overhauls of well houses. They're who we use for all of our work at the well house if it is out of our wheelhouse. So historically, we've used them to rebuild plenty of pumps, and at this point, we had to kind of due to the inconsistencies happening at Quick Road, we did have a pump that failed. We did need to send that out and get that repaired immediately. It has been repaired and we received the invoice for that already. So this is asking you to please approve the invoice amount.
Cool. Thank you. Danny, will you please be seated? Any public comment on this item? Hearing none. Seeing none. Danny, take the stand. Council, any discussion?
What happens if we don't replace it? Does it like affect our water at all? Is it more cost effective to replace it now versus waiting?
Yeah, it's gonna cost the same amount regardless of when we do it. And then, of course, we only have 3 pumps that run our service. So the 3 pumps that actually supply the low pressure side, they basically supply pressure for the entire system as well as the filters within the plant. So we need to have backups for those pumps. And if we don't do this and we have another problem, we only have 1 pump able to run the whole system, which ultimately becomes a serious issue.
Council?
Is in our, this is gonna go towards Tim, if that's okay. In our ordinances, isn't it allowed for you to approve this amount because it's an emergency
Up to
repair?
Up to 10,000.
Even though it's an emergency repair?
Yeah. So so this is something we're learning the process. We need to, first of all, we need to update our purchasing policy. 10,000, look, most municipalities are updating it from 30,000, to go to higher levels. We haven't requested that yet because we know the financial considerations and how much we're being reviewed right now. So the correct response of this would have been that we would have done before the purchase, we would have done an emergency meeting in order just to approve.
And that'd been a waste of time. I mean, I'm glad to know it got fixed. It's just,
Yeah.
we need to update something to make it so if these things, when it's a dire emergency like this, not we need to replace tires on a car, but
Yeah.
we got a pump that went down and we're gonna lose water pressure. We need to get fixed now, which we did, and then we can be approved.
I agree with you. It should be higher.
Okay. Well, at least you finally agree with me.
Council, if you're good, call the roll.
Ryan,
Yes.
Costello,
Yes.
Weinbrenner,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Kyer,
Yes.
Wendell,
Yes.
Brandon.
Yes, motion carried.
Thank you, council.
Thank you. Our next item is item
H.
It was the previous J. So this is, my recommendation for George Coulis to be reappointed to the Historic Commission. Do I have a first to consider item H of new business?
I'll make the motion to consider item H of new business.
We have a motion by Ryan.
I'll second.
We have a support by Koskela. Any public comment on this item? Hearing none, seeing none. Okay. Not too long ago, I saw a rumor online and I called George because it was about him. And it was that he had these felonies. And I said, George, I saw a ridiculous rumor about you online. I wanted to give you an opportunity to go handle it. He asked me what it was. And I told him the rumor was that he had 3 felonies for animal abuse. And I thought that was crazy. And he said, well, truthfully, I've got 6. They tried to get me with 9. They didn't care about the scaly ones. They only cared about the furry ones. That is the very long and short of it. I was hoping he'd be here today to address this. But on his application, he wrote, there's a line at the bottom that says lists all arrests, misdemeanors, felonies that you've incurred as an adult. And he wrote down, I think it was in like 1993 and 2007, that he had 2 misdemeanors, and it said license disputes. No felonies. He specifically wrote the word no felonies on this application. So I truly appreciate his depth of knowledge when it comes to historic, but I'm torn here. He lied. And I don't know, perhaps his felonies were expunged, and so he doesn't feel the need to address them. I don't know if that's the case or not. He never told me if they were expunged or not. That just didn't come up in our previous conversation. So I want to leave this up to the pleasure of council rather than simply pulling him from the agenda, even though I could have. So I'm leaving this up to the pleasure of council. Any further discussion?
I don't think he's.
Well, okay,
I'm
let's,
sorry.
let's start with Daniel.
Okay. I don't, me being on the historical commission board, I have a feeling that he will put us up for a lot of OMA violations on how he handles things. And how it's just, he doesn't run it like it should be ran, all the meetings should be ran.
Oh, so to be clear, Mr. Coolus is currently the chair and you're thinking he doesn't do a good job?
Yes.
Thank you for that input. Anyone else?
I'm gonna look at it from this point of view. His term's up in February. So that's like 6-7 months away from now. We could appoint someone for those 6 months, but then we have to go appoint someone again afterwards. I'd say we let him finish out his term, and if he wants to reapply and consider it then against other candidates.
Good point.
That's what I was gonna mention.
Noted.
I have concerns as the chair of ethics of we're going to allow somebody to falsify documents and give them 7 more months on the board because it might be a little bit of a hassle to put somebody else in there for 6 months.
We could
Question. Hold on. Question. So on DDA, when you have a seat and then someone's not there to replace you in a reappointment, you get to sit there in that seat until someone else is reappointed. Is historic the same?
So that's specific into PA 57 that states that someone remains in their seat unless appointed over. I'm not sure if Historic Commission like specifically articulates that within their ordinance. Most communities kind of use it as a general rule that someone can hold their seat until someone is reappointed. I know that Mike doesn't necessarily agree with it. Him and I have had these conversations before, and Mike, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, because Tim, no offense, but he's the lawyer.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, so the answer, there are specific statutes that say exactly that. That so-and-so remains in their seat until a replacement is chosen. So it's not a universal rule. We have to look at each particular seat and the statutory basis for it.
The delinquency of minor, but that.
So Tim, you think it's up for question. Gildner, you think that historic, you get to sit in your seat till someone else is appointed.
I'm looking right now.
He's pulling it up. Okay, while he pulls that up, council, any further questions? or
I do
thoughts?
have a question. We do background checks on peddlers and different booth rentals in our farmers market. And it does on our application state that you could be subject to a background check. Did we do a background check?
Yes, and he did sign permission for that. It's kind of built into that same question. It says by signing below, you consent to the village doing a background check. So we did a background check and it did not show them for Michigan, but I don't know that he was living in Michigan at the time. I do know he used to be a truck driver of some nature, so he may have lived in a different state.
So why don't we,
Have an ethics meeting on it, and then
I don't know why we need an ethics committee for a reappointment.
no, I mean for the falsifying the application. So
Well,
if it's
if we,
ethics
if we
concern, then-
know that, I
All we
mean,
have to do is ask him.
Well, then
Ask
that
him
would bring
what?
the investigation.
April already
into
did.
issues with it
Yeah,
too.
I mean, unless you're saying
Well,
that I
maybe
don't,
it's expunged.
unless you're saying I don't have your confidence.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying maybe it's expunged. Maybe that's why he said no, because I don't currently have one on my record.
Okay,
I'm saying,
Fair.
I have no reason to doubt you at all. I'm not doubting that at all, so for sure.
retract it.
Yeah.
And that is fair.
So maybe postpone it until next meeting and then.
Postponing is an
invite him-
option.
Expunge or not
invite him
expunge?
to The meeting to answer questions, and then if he shows up and we're satisfied with it, keep him. If we're not satisfied with the answers or he doesn't show up.
Let me ask a random question. Can you get 6 felonies expunged?
I'm sorry?
Can you get 6 felonies expunged?
It's possible.
Okay.
It depends what the nature of the
Sure.
offenses and all of that.
Okay,
I mean, now to the second point, Mr. Wendell said, maybe it's not a good fit. So,
all right,
what do you
so,
do?
yeah, well,
I
this is.
still would like to ask him, I think.
God, okay. Did you find what you were looking for?
Yeah, well, I found the section dealing with the commission, which doesn't speak to the issue one way or the other. It doesn't say that you remain there until your successor is appointed. It doesn't say anything about it one way or the other.
It just says vacancy on the commission shall be filled within 60 calendar days by appointment of village president.
Yeah, and if Mr. Coolis, doesn't release his previous addresses or whatever state he used to live in, there's a possibility we'll never have an answer, because we're not gonna do a deep background check in 50 states.
I'm not saying to do a deep dive, but
I'm
he
just
obviously
saying-
told you that he had felonies, and now he's putting no that he doesn't have felonies.
Right.
So I'm just trying to understand what the,
Why he,
yeah,
right,
why,
we want to assume that there is a good reason. But there is just, I wanna point out a possibility we'll never find out here. So,
but we're not gonna know, like we talked about before, unless we ask.
right now, the motion on the table is to reappoint him. And then his term would end February 2027. Please call the roll.
Whittle,
No.
Ryan,
Yes.
Costa,
No.
Weinberger,
No.
Cole,
No.
Kyer,
no.
Brandon.
No, motion denied.
Next item is, item I, new business, which is the appointment of Logan Leclerc for the DDA. I don't have a slide for that one, because it's added.
Shame on you.
What's that?
Shame on you.
I know. The date is, someone has it handier than I do.
Indeed, April 2029.
There you go.
Logan Leclerc owns Willards. For anyone that doesn't know him, let's see, how do we need to do this? Do I have a first to consider the appointment of Logan Leclerc to DDA?
I will make the motion, consider Logan. Yeah, no.
The Wilson Auto guy.
I'll second.
I'll second that emotion.
I'll second that emotion.
We have a motion by Coskela. We have a second by Kyer. Public comment. Hearing none. Seeing none. Logan, would you like to present? If you have anything you want to say, go ahead.
Someone sent me a message about public comment for this one. Should I do it now, or should I just wait till?
Yeah, I get my address.
Wait till
I live in
it's
Holly
over. Yeah,
off
it's gonna be right after.
Linder Drive. It's the only house that's out
Why are
there.
you counting them down?
I don't know. I thought it'd be kind of interesting to, I don't know. They do a lot downtown, and they don't do a whole lot that way. And people have said I should do it because, you know, being north of downtown would be kind of a good idea. And I said, sure.
You've owned a business in Midtown for how long?
I've been in business in town here for, I'm 12 years in, but I'm at that location a little over 2 years.
Yep.
I bounced around a lot.
Previously, you were next to where.
Oh, I
Ruth
started
is
out in,
used to
I
be?
started out in a barn on Fagan Road, and then I went to Elm Street at the car lot until somebody didn't want me there. so they put me out of business, no pun intended. And then I moved over to where the limos are, and I went and got a special use permit to be there, and I was there for like 5 years. And then I moved to, well, it used to be Wilkinson's, it's now Willard's. So,
Council, any more questions?
yeah, let her rip.
I appreciate Mid and North Town view.
Yeah, I was like,
Okay, you may be seated. Thank you.
pretty painless, huh?
Tom Ryan has a public comment from a resident.
All right, so during the break we had earlier for the awards we gave out, I got a message from Hillary Elgire that she wanted to make a comment for this item. She stated, I wanted to comment to Linda Stouffer not being reappointed to the DDA
Can you
board.
speak in the mic, please? Thank you.
From Hillary Elgire. I wanted to comment to Linda Stouffer not being reappointed to DDA board. I served on the DDA and was a part of the vote that authorized Linda to start the ELGA CD account. That decision was made with the intent to maximize taxpayer funds by gaining interest to make the funds grow further, and is working to do just that. Between December 2nd and December 31st, the account gained $242.88 in interest. Considering that the village administration failed in their process to do the oath of office for all reappointed seats, the best path forward would have to been fair and equal treatment of all the people impacted without singling anyone out. Linda has given exponentially to this community and should actually be on the receiving end of an award for her dedication to this community. Instead, she is being dragged through the dirt, made to look like a person of no integrity, and is wrongfully being removed from a board that she has poured herself into since her original appointment to the DDA. Furthermore, the village clerk treasurer is at fault for providing the wrong EIN number and should be reprimanded accordingly. Is she also being removed? That's the end of the message.
Thank you. That's the end of public comment. Was there any further public comment? Hearing none, seeing none. Council discussion.
I would like to have seen Linda here if she wanted to keep that position, to make her own case for it, so that's where I'm at currently with, in regards to that message and that position.
Thank you. So the motion on the table is to appoint Logan.
Is Logan gonna be the new chair then, or?
No. The
You have to be on the board for
the
at least a year.
DDA board decides their officers.
Okay.
And yeah, you have to be on.
Nothing against you, Logan.
Yeah. And you have to be on, and you have to be on the board for over a year to qualify for a position of office.
Oh, okay.
Officer. So he would be a trustee, and I think next month they're appointing officers as well, by the way, which is just a coincidence. Please call the roll.
Ryan,
One more time for what the motion was.
To appoint Logan to DDA.
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Weinberger,
Yes.
Koskela,
Yes.
Kyer,
Yes.
Windle,
Yes.
Randall,
Excuse me?
Brandon.
What?
Brandel, Brand.
Tired. I'm gonna have a 4-hour drive after this.
Yes, motion carried unanimously. Logan, thank you for this, for offering to serve in this capacity. We appreciate you.
Jerry, you did hear him telling you he's tired and he's got a 3-hour drive. So he needs a field sobriety before he leaves tonight.
Okay. So we had A and B down there. What's the other item we need to?
I think it was it, wasn't
I
it?
believe that's it until we, after closed
Hold
session.
on. There was
Joe Mishler.
Joe
for
Mishler.
HGC.
Joe Mishler for HDC, term ending May 2027. Oh, and this is because we had another board member unfortunately resign due to a scheduling conflict who we miss dearly, which is Jan over here. But you gotta put your career first. Anyways, I will entertain a motion to appoint Joe Mishler to the HDC.
I'll make the motion to appoint Joe Mishler to the HTC.
Second.
Motion by Wendell, second by, was that Costa?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any public comment? Hearing none, seeing none. Council, any discussion?
I would just like to say, I think I seen majority of council try to lean in to say second, so I think that's a pretty good idea that people support Joe Mishler on this.
Maybe Mishler should be the new chair.
Go ahead.
I can say I've served with Joe on the library board, and his extensive knowledge of this community and the historical aspects downtown and throughout are great, and he's a good person to do this.
He's an asset to the village no matter what hat he puts on.
Exactly.
It's going to be his Vietnam veterans hat, and we appreciate his service, but Joe is
Purple heart pin.
a great person.
His hat's got more pins on it than a pin cushion.
Can we reject Jan's resignation? Is that possible?
You already did it on consent agenda.
But congratulations, Jan.
Yeah, you're kicked off now.
We'll see you at Parks cleanups.
So, I'd like to be serious for a moment here. This was a difficult phone call for me to make. Joe Mishler's daughter recently passed away. And when this position became available, I was like, man, this has got Joe Mishler's name written all over it. And the last thing I wanted to think of was burdening him with more responsibilities. But after, a couple of weeks passed, I called him up anyway and I said, hey, no pressure. But if this doesn't have Joe Mishler written on it, I don't know what does. He said, well, give me a couple weeks. I'm going to talk to my wife. He called me back the next day and said yes.
That's his couple weeks.
This is his cup of tea. Watching him work on the library board was a pleasure. He works at the Veterans Resource Center. He's on the American Legion. He does all of these things that are deeply involved with the history of Holly. So I think that he'll do a fantastic job there.
And he also has a couple books that are inside of a binder available for checkout at the library that he wrote about the history of Holly.
He's writing one right now on its incorporation in 1982 as well.
Retired educator, so.
He is he is a human of knowledge. That's the only thing I can say about him.
Joe Mishler taught me government in high school, so.
Are you kidding me? Are you serious?
All right, let's reconsider this.
Uh-oh.
When I call him Joe, my peers freak out and say, that's Mr. Mishler, my teacher. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carried. That's that.
Reports.
So, reports, because we'll be moving into closed session.
All right, I don't have too much report. Obviously, we have some work cut out for us. We have municipal analytics on the August 11th meeting that we're going to do a work session beforehand at 5 p.m. The reason that we are doing a work session beforehand is because we feel like it's going to go over the typical hour. So we'll probably do an hour and then continue the work session during our meeting. I'll probably also be presenting updated rules and procedures based on the appointments, new appointments, some of that. I know council has also mentioned some other things they would like to see change in that. If you have ideas or things that you would like updated within that document, please let me know. As I mentioned, I'm going to be, after this, immediately after this, I have to drive to Petoskey. I have the Michigan Municipal Executives Conference, which I'm talking at tomorrow, or I'm working tomorrow. I'm part of the board for the Professional Development Board for MME. And so as soon as we leave here, I'm going to start driving up there because I have to
be safe.
7:30. Yeah.
Mike, Jeremy, what do you got?
Just real quick to add to mine, I'll add to mine, if you've been down there, Apollo has been repaved.
Oh, I seen that.
And it's, they did a complete rip out and removal. So, and that's been a council issue. We've been debating that and working with all three property owners that abut that. And they have been planning that for about 8 months and it finally happened. So
Well, this is the drive by McDonald's.
from, correct, yeah, from North Holly McDonald's over to the other Apollo Drive, so.
Can we say yes?
Yeah, I know. It was nice to see a local company out there doing it too.
That too, and now we got to set up for speeders. It's a nice road, so.
Madam President,
Yes,
the only
please.
thing, going back to Ms. Matson's appeal, you do have to issue a written certification that the statements in the determination are accurate and that the fee amount complies with the public body's publicly available procedures and guidelines. So there's still some work that we need to do with that. I will work with Tim in putting that together. There may have to be a meeting for you all to approve it. You're the head of the public body, and that's what the statute says. But I've got some thoughts that perhaps we can avoid that. So in any event, that'll be coming back to you.
I did want to get ahead of something because it was brought up by Councilmember Costello. I just wanted your opinion, if you have one right now, on his agitation about not having to. I don't think he's saying that he can't follow, he doesn't have to follow for it, is that he doesn't have to do the force. I know that the MCL covers, it says like the public body is responsible for it. I don't know as an individual, like if you say, yes, I will do that, is there, maybe you have any thoughts on that?
No, if I may, I did not say I would not provide records. I said I would not be the one responsible for dictating what is a responsive record.
Can we save this, let's save this conversation for the education private. We've got, there's time, my brain's broken. Moving on, next report, anybody? Okay, Jim, kick off your councilman comments.
So, we've got, I saw Ms. Everly made a comment about truck traffic coming through, our municipality. My understanding is we can totally prohibit commercial vehicles over 10,001 pounds coming through our vehicle, coming through our, anywhere in the village, because they're all, well, almost anywhere in the village, because they're not maintained by the county. Is that correct?
We could have an established truck route for trucks that are not doing drop-offs within the village. We actually had one in the 90s, I believe was the last time we updated. I think it was in 94. That we haven't been enforcing in the time, and I don't believe we have the accurate signage at this point.
I mean, my understanding too is that we could put a sign up saying, if you're not coming, literally, if you're not coming to the village of Holly, you cannot come into the village of Holly. So for instance, they can't come down Maple, they couldn't come down North Saginaw. It's not a county road. We could say, you have to go somewhere else, but you can't come here.
If it's a village street, it can be regulated by the village. There's a lot of different ways of doing that. A lot of communities will do it by axle. You can do it by weight. The only waiver of that is every single time is that the most accessible route for a local delivery. The actual area that I believe she was complaining about, it is already signage, and for whatever reason, there were just no officers there to see it. You know, the tree fell in the woods. So they do stop vehicles that come through that. That's already prohibited.
And where was that area?
Coming directly through town, through the downtown.
Okay.
They have to turn onto Maple.
My understanding too is if we wanted to as council, we could establish an ordinance that say, you can't come down Maple, you can't come down North Saginaw.
You can pick those roads. Then if there's local delivery or if those are manufacturers within your village, you have manufacturing in your residential areas right now. It's part of the problem. I've looked at this, and part of the problem we have is the zoning layout in 1850 and 1880 is a little bit different than today. So we have manufacturing all throughout the village, and you have to allow them to leave. So it can be done, but it's very difficult because now what you're going to do is limit all heavy traffic trucks through down one street.
Which street are we saying?
Well, I'm saying any street. If you limit them from going this way, they got to go that way. If they,
But I'm saying if they're not coming to the village of Holly for
Well, if
business,
they're-
they don't have to come here.
if they're, well, two things. If it's a local delivery, they do.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
A local being
If
in the
it-
village of Holly.
Local in the village of Holly. And the other one is if they're manufacturing it in the village, they've got to get in and out with their supplies. So they have a lot of these heavy manufacturing. What I see is the raw materials or different materials are coming into the factory, and they're taking different routes based on traffic flow and things like that. You can limit that. We can create, if you looked at where all of the manufacturing is, you meet with them, find out what materials are coming in, then what finished products going out. But if you begin to limit that to one or two streets, and I've had some experience on this, then all of the people on those streets get very upset because all the heavy traffic is on their
Now,
streets.
with respect,
So we have
those
to,
aren't-
yeah,
those aren't the vehicles I'm talking about. So
Sort of just transient.
just transient vehicles, yes.
I think, I don't think there's a reason when there's county maintained roads, we already have problems with our roads in the town. I don't understand why we would want 80,000 pound vehicles coming through our town. They're not stopping here to get gas because they're too big. They're not stopping to eat because there's nowhere to park. They're not stopping to shop because there's nowhere to park. They're using us to cut through it. And if it's not a county maintained road, they shouldn't be here, I don't think. Anyone else
Especially with the
agree?
construction on 75.
I can't think of what benefit an 80,000 pound vehicle does that is not doing business in the village of Holly.
It benefits tearing up our road.
And I think it's the big trucks that do a lot more damage than the small ones. Correct?
But how do we enforce that? Like, how do we know that they're just driving through town or that they're not on the way to deliver? Like,
Well, the sign defines the truck, and then the officers see the truck and stop the truck. And then that's where the question is, are
so
you,
even if it was for a local delivery?
they're gonna have their paperwork that shows the address, of they're gonna have a.
And if you're a commercial vehicle with an MC number, I don't believe you need any probable suspicion to stop somebody.
Nope.
So you just stop them and say, what are you doing?
You can get stopped for any reason at all.
Well, let's back up. If we post the signs that say, there's signs right now on Milford Road that say if you're gonna come through town, you can't, you have to.
Do we
make
need a
the turn.
subcommittee on this?
We
That would be
could.
charter and ordinance,
Let's put this on a subcommittee and move on. Can,
because I would love to see that.
which subcommittee?
Charter and order.
Or can I
Ordinances.
just simply offer that the police department work with the manager to provide a proposal of what roads?
And
We've
come back with
already
it?
been working on this, so.
Yeah.
Because I don't think if there's a village road and it's a
And come
transit
back with a
vehicle,
summary?
Yeah.
to be cut.
Jim, anything else?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
One of the comments I think Ms. Mattson brought up was a FOIA panel or something of that nature of who can look up emails. And like I said, I'm okay providing all my personal records. I'm okay saying, here's all my emails. But if we're using Microsoft Office, there's no reason someone can't just type in the keyword and say, that's a responsive record. There you go. So there's no reason that we should have to do it. And there's no reason that we should have to pay another company to do it when the entire back end is right there. I'm sure there's some way that our IT company could do it. And if they can't, I think that's troubling. I'd also like to see an ordinance to actually have everybody, have our clerk treasurer, have their office be responsive for all FOIAs in the Village of Holly, to include every multiple member body and whatnot. I'm dealing with a FOIA with another one of our departments right now, the DDA, and it's not going well with their responsiveness. So if our clerk treasurer is able to do it, and we have the resources, we have the know-how of how to do it, we should do it. And I think it would be cheaper for our residents that are looking for information. And there shouldn't be a problem with that. I don't think PA 57 says the DA has to do their own FOIAs.
Madam President?
I mean, whether it's legal or not, I don't think that the DDA would ever possibly consider turning over that responsibility. There's too
Oh, they don't
much.
have a choice. If PA 57 does not explicitly allow them that, it's an ordinance. They're a creature of an ordinance. We made them and
I
we
don't
follow our
know.
ordinances.
I don't know. Gildner, can you look into it?
I'm happy to take a look at it, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I want to thank our DPW director here for some good hires. I met a couple of individuals out there at Crapo Park today. There's a new sign going up. I think it was Jaden and Cameron. They were out there working. It was like one of the hottest days and doing concrete work and putting some stuff together. So great guys. Make sure you pass along my thanks to them. Fireworks, amazing. I think I talked to Chief, who's out there, and his wife was actually out there with him too, working. So that was a whole event. I think, I don't know if the residents realize this, but I think it was one of the biggest shells that we've had out there, 6-inch shells, which put them up higher, and that's what the chief said. So I don't think there's been any notice about that or anything. So great job to the committee and everyone else for doing that. I know I was outside watering my plants at 10 a.m. and I hear beep, beep. And I look up and there goes Manager Price. I'm like, oh, he's going in at 10 a.m. Look at that. He's a little early today. No, he was in at 7 a.m. I found out after I said something earlier. So he was out there something, maybe even before that. I don't know. It was early. I was like, okay, you're out at the fireworks early and I'm just going to show up for an hour and work. So
I was at midnight closing the gate too.
so thank you for being out there. I know all of the staff was out there. I saw Chief out there. I saw everyone out there. I'm not going to just name some people. Everyone of them was out there. I had another one. Oh, closed session. One point on that. I know it was mentioned on public comment that we broke the law because we didn't have it in the motion. From my understanding, it doesn't have to be in the motion. You just have to have it in the minutes, and how you get it in the minutes is we were talking about it prior. It's not like we're trying to hide anything. It's not that there was any attempt to deceive public at the meeting. It was all discussed multiple times previously.
This has already been litigated.
Yeah, which is just weird. It keeps getting brought up. So I think in the future, it does make it just more, it's more simpler if it always is in the motion. So that's what we're doing. But yeah. Oh, the last one. Absolutely the last item. Can we come up with a consensus to have staff prioritize water rates and follow guidance from Finance Committee?
I assume that just like, if
I mean,
you
we've
wanted
got
to put that on the agenda, like another.
I don't think we need to put it on an agenda. We just need to say, can staff work on this?
Yeah, the only, I do want to see municipal analytics now with what we discussed at the last meeting, run the numbers and bring that. I'm hoping that's what happens on the 11th at some point.
The numbers for what?
For water rates and what we need. But
Nope.
I am ready for us to move forward.
And doing per premise billing and everything else of that nature.
Yeah, I would like to see their numbers that we've given those directives. I want to see the numbers and then I'm ready to bring it to council.
Now, is that gonna be something on August 11th that we're gonna do? I don't think
I
that.
That might not be
I
on
didn't
the
think that's-
11th, but it is
That's outside the scope.
Yeah, I didn't think.
of what the 11th is. Okay,
It was
well,
outside the scope.
To do additional models of different things, we're like, we would have to increase costs because it's outside of the scope of what the model is.
So if there was a
I think Lisa
miscommunication.
sent you guys some numbers too, right?
I think there's up to bond. I think if it's outside the scope was not properly relayed to the consultant. Because this has been the billing system that we have been proposing for a long time.
yeah, then we weren't given what
Bef-
we thought we were. getting.
Before the contract was signed with Municipal Analytics. So how do we go about resolving that? So if Municipal Analytics is telling us the proposal that we're doing, that we want to do, we can't do. Because it's gonna cost us more money.
I don't think that was said.
That was the email that was outside the scope.
Well,
That's what he told us.
I think the point was if we're running if we're running several different scenarios, if it's like, all right, we want to run it if we're doing this, if we want to run it if we're doing this, and the more variables you add in and the different like things, then that's outside the scope.
But the scope was that they were turning this over to us as a tool that we would have access to,
Yeah.
or staff, and so
Yes.
somebody can run those numbers.
Yeah.
So right now, the billing does not have per premise billing, for instance.
It does.
The not.
It-
Okay,
That's a finance meeting.
there's no need for argument. Gather the evidence in private on your own time.
So here's what's gonna happen. We're gonna tell staff to do something, and we can't tell them to do something because we're not all of council.
I didn't say to tell staff to do anything. I said go verify on your own time. There's no need to argue here.
That's what we're here at the meeting for, is to discuss and figure stuff out, though.
No, this is reports, but we can call a meeting.
Do the work on your own time. Come back with the evidence. That way there's no need to argue with evidence in front of us. I don't know why we're arguing. Robert's rules clearly state there is no point to argue. Gather the evidence in your own time.
So
Come
this,
back with the sheets in front of you.
so a
and then have
discussion in your mind
discussion.
is an argument?
When there is evidence available, Robert's rules says go get the evidence. Don't argue during session. There's no need for the back and forth arguing. Go get the evidence
We have a
so that
discussion.
we could see which one of you is correct.
Correct on what? I mean, just ask Mr. Price.
I just think we
The
need to
current billing,
set,
does it include per premise billing?
we need to set a finance committee rate in our meeting, and then there's more than one of us who can put it on the agenda. You and I can put it on an agenda, Amber and I can put it on an agenda.
Just put it on
You
the
guys
agenda.
can, yeah.
I just directed it. Put it on the agenda.
We need specific guidance on what to put on the agenda. I think that's what Lisa's been waiting on from the finance committee, is that we've been looking at like, what do you want? I don't speak. Do you want to say, hey, we want increased rates for township residents. We want these numbers to go in there. That's like what we are waiting for.
We said that in
Specific direct-
August of last year.
Yeah, I feel like that's been clear on that part, but
I will say that myself, the clerk treasurer and municipal analytics did not feel like it was clear when we left that meeting.
No,
last.
that meeting was not clear, but I think it has been reiterated what we're looking
We
at.
have
for-
to move on to the next point, get it clear, and then get it on the next agenda after it's clear. Next item, Jim.
I believe that's it. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Buster?
Anything going on with the, turn lane out there on Grange Hall Road?
So
By county?
Yeah, so with the county, my understanding is that, and Jeremy can probably correct me or Danny, but that the county said that they're not doing that until the next fiscal year. We've kind of pushed back and said, hey, that we have requirements for the business owners to do, they're not doing the signal modification rather until next fiscal year. The problem is that the support wire for the lights is within that turn lane, so they'd have to remove the support wire for the business for Marathon to complete that right turn lane. Is that correct? All right. So we're still just, we need Oakland County to give us an option to either relocate or remove that wire that stabilizes the light in order for the Marathon to complete the process of building that right turn lane.
So we're not gonna do that until next year?
They're not doing the signal remodel until next year,
Oh, okay.
based on their finances, Oakland County's.
Okay. Hey, Danny, on Lake Street, there's a big branch hanging down and vehicles are hitting it or going around it as they're going down the roadway there. So I wonder if there's something that can be done to cut that off. Okay. That's all I have.
All right, so mine will be pretty fast. County Fair is going on right now. We have lots of artwork from students in Holly, so go check it out. It was a pleasure to be one of the judges for it. So if you have an opportunity to do that in the future, I would encourage it. And this one's just more of like a rhetorical question. If instead of using closed sessions for every written legal memorandum or opinion that we get, especially like the ones with the appointments, if we can just save time, just do it once in public, I think that would be helpful. And I want to especially thank like staff, the Keikos, and Shannon. They took a huge brunt of that rain on the 4th of July. So I want to thank them for that. I came in right after Shannon and yeah.
Third.
Were you soaked like a duck?
I held a
Fourth of July
tent through 80-mile-an-hour winds.
And that's all I have.
Thank you.
Get past.
Daniel?
Really fast, all I gotta say is, I wanna thank, everybody, Chief and everybody else for everything they do. I know we're all aware of that threat that came across social media. And it's kind of nerve wracking, but like April tells us, we're elected officials. We gotta expect a lot of stuff. And that's one of the things that come with it, I guess. And I'm sorry I couldn't be there on the 4th of July. My legs wouldn't allow me to stand up that long. So my heart was, but it was a wonderful show. I actually heard it and seen the grand finale and it was great. And one of the best ones I've heard since I've lived out here.
I also appreciate everybody. I don't think getting death threats online is something that as an elected official you have to deal with. I do think that we do have some fervor that gets whipped up around here, and that's part of being a small town. I would like to remind people that we are all neighbors. What happens here affects my home, it affects my mother's home, it affects my retired uncle's home and my children. We all live here. This is not somebody from out of town who came here. We live here, we pay our bills here. I drink the water. It is all of us here. We are volunteers for the most part. Sure, I get $700 a year to do this. I do a lot of research, and I think that is what is expected of you. You should be able to get on here and try to figure some stuff out. I would like to encourage people to apply. There is an election. You still have a few more days to turn in petitions. You can stand up and be in here. When you do go down to the township to get your petition information, they will give you the petition. They will tell you how to set up a finance committee and all the things that you need to do in order to sit here. I think every person in this village should take a turn. for sure. It has been one of those things that a lot of people have let pass, being appointed to this position. To begin with, I filled a seat that was a 4-year term. In the middle of that, somebody decided to go to the township instead. I was able to step in, and I appreciate that appointment. I've learned a lot. I think it is eye-opening, and it's a civic duty that every member of the village should undertake at some point. Thank you.
Mine will not be short.
Uh-oh.
The Ethics Committee has been meeting since April to investigate and seek guidance from legal regarding potential ethics violations by members of the DDA and a village council member. The first investigation pertained to a text exchange between a member of our council and a former DDA member. The council member was concerned that a text exchange between himself and the former DDA member might constitute an ethics violation, and turned the exchange over to the president, who then forwarded it to the manager, who then forwarded it to legal. The text contained information from the former DDA member to the council member recommending how to avoid FOIA compliance. After legal review, the information provided by the former DDA member was inaccurate and would not have avoided FOIA compliance, and the recommendation could be seen as potentially being educational versus a blatant attempt to avoid transparency. Our recommendation is to take no action on that item. The second investigation was into the transfer of $75,000 that removed that money from village oversight. The investigation found that there were many errors in the transfer of that money. The issue has since been rectified, and since the seat has been vacated, our recommendation is to take no action on that item. The third investigation focused on the enactment of DDA bylaws without the approval of council. The investigation found that the bylaws had not been approved by council. This information was shared with the DDA director, and he is working with the village manager to get approval from council. As the situation is being resolved, we recommend to take no action on that item. The fourth investigation regarded possible infractions in record keeping regarding DDA director applications. The investigation found that potential issues moving forward would now be mitigated by the hiring of a full-time director. We again recommend taking no action on this item. The last investigation was about FOIA noncompliance regarding a missing resume for the DDA director position that stemmed from a FOIA request. The investigation found that the applicant overlooked, did not submit an application, but merely solicited whether the position was open and asked to be contacted if an opening occurred. It is our recommendation that this does not meet the threshold of a violation, and we recommend taking no action. I'd like to take a moment to talk about ethics. Every legitimate organization has ethics, or as it's colloquially called, culture. We as leaders who sit at this table set the ethics or culture we hope to see in our community and within our organization. We as a council decide and make revisions as necessary that align more with our view of the culture. We set the standard by our words and, more importantly, our actions. Words like transparency and accountability mean nothing without the actions to back them up. Yesterday, I was made aware that my family, as well as the families of our ethics board and council, had received a death threat. The threat was posted on a content creator's social media post that was then amplified to every local discussion group this village has. The link that was shared could be opened, and in the comment section, you could see the threat, which I will read verbatim. Somebody needs to ring their doorbell, and anyone that answers the door needs to be killed. Eventually, you will get to the right person. Traitors to this nation and the Constitution need to be executed. That threat was not removed for 48 hours. As a former law enforcement officer from my time in the Army, I am acutely aware of threats and the various ways they can be presented. As a council member, I am acutely aware of the political violence. Recently, We've seen the attempted assassination of the President of the United States, as well as the murder of Minnesota legislator Melissa Hortman and her husband. Let us not forget Gabby Giffords, who was shot in the head at a campaign event. When we are silent as leaders, or worse, when we capitulate and assign blame to those who would expose this abhorrent behavior, we co-sign on that behavior. We tolerate that as a culture. Our silence serves no one save the ones who want to risk our very lives. When we question the validity of a threat based not on its merit, but on the medium in which it was used, we reveal much more about our character than the ones we seek to shame. My 4-year-old daughter was threatened to be executed on my doorstep over an investigation into ethics. And some members of our community thought it appropriate to ask for silence, for exposing the threats and exposing the veil of violence we sit under for $700 a year. Luckily, I come from a long line of women who don't shut the hell up.
Amen.
And my bloodline is not made for surrender. And also, luckily, I have members of council who identified the threat and passed it to the appropriate authorities because the lives of our children meant more than political theater. This is not the first time a member of council's children has been used as political fodder. Our own president had the valiant service of her son, who died in service to this country, used as a weapon against her to decry her policy positions. I would have thought that would be the end of it. I cannot fathom the lack of general character or integrity it takes to stoop that low or carry water for someone who does, and I am glad for it. And yet I sit here with my baby girl, now an object to be placed on the altar of political gamesmanship. If your idea of ethics is that family is fair game and that silence is expected, do not vote for me. If your sense of ethics hinges less on love thy neighbor and more on teach that bitch a lesson, do not vote for me. That is your solution, because I will not allow the culture of this council to be dependent upon how much violence we are expected to stomach. And that is it.
Tough one to follow there.
Thank you. Amber, you constantly impress me. So I'll stay on the same topic for now. I'll be brief. I had one staff member and one council member reach out to me asking if we could maybe reschedule this evening or if we could add security. And I did tell Councilman Wendell there is inherent risk in this position, but I did look into adding more security. Our staff member had the idea of requesting an extra resource officer because they volunteer their time. So, we cannot afford more security. And our staff member wanted an extra resource officer here just to be able to walk them out when they leave at night, because typically one person ends up here, or sometimes one person ends up here alone, but that will no longer be the case. And unfortunately, that's not how the contract for our resource officers are written. They're simply here to manage crowds and events. So
Madam President, you mean our reserve officers?
yeah, what did I say?
Resource.
Thank you. I meant to
I
say
got
reserve officers.
confused when you're saying
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so Tim respectfully laid out the situations in which the officers can be used, which is to perform crowd control, foot patrol in the downtown area, riding a second officer, etc. So unfortunately, this doesn't meet that criteria. So I said, well, fuck, that sucks because I know we can't afford a second officer. I was truly hoping reserves was an option. I noted to Wendell earlier that these positions come with inherent risk, but it sure seems like in times of threat that we ought to be able to protect our staff and council a bit more if everyone is agreeable enough to continue to work, for which I'd like to thank everyone for showing up and working today. If we're not able to protect them, I suppose people might begin missing meetings. And that's just a harsh truth we might face going forward. Some of this council may flip over in November. I don't know that everyone that's running is going to have the desire to work through noise like this. That's where I'll end that note. It just sucks. And now I'd like to do an enormous segue. DDA update. They're doing a cooperative effort with the Renaissance Festival. They're going to do a linear look from downtown to Northtown. Haven't seen a lot of action yet, but we're hopeful that that'll start picking up soon. We talked about doing a Holly Christmas theme, tying in our different events. And the Hallmark Channel has a 25-year anniversary coming up, and they're seeking America's Merriest Christmas Towns, so we are hoping to get added to that list. And then finally, I'd like to take a moment to honor Joe Mishler's daughter. Jennifer Ann Mishler passed away recently. She was very young. It's very tragic. She was loved by many. Joe, his wife Linda, Mike Mishler, who is a local fireman. And so let's just take a moment of silence. Thank you for that. Now I will entertain a motion to move into closed session. Consideration of village council to enter closed session to review closed session minutes from June 23rd, 2026 pursuant to Open Meetings Act 276 of 1976. Whoever makes the motion, please read the motion out loud.
I will make the motion for the consideration of village council to enter closed session to review closed session minutes from June 23rd, 2026 pursuant to Open Meetings Act 276 of 1976.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Kyer, second by Ryan. Please call the roll.
Oh, I'm sorry. Getting into all that. All right, sorry. All right, so, Kyer,
Yes.
Wendell,
Yes.
Ryan,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Weinberger,
Yes.
Costa.
Yes.
Yes, motion carried. We will ask that everyone exit the building. This is one of our new security strategies during closed sessions. If you'd like to re-enter after, if you're still here, we will let you back in for our last few minutes. Yeah.
I go use the restroom real quick.
We have a ice cream in here. Appreciate you.
That was good.
Young lady?
I did not.
Under enforcement act. Next steps. We're proceeding